set the world on fire. I just wanna start a flame in your heart. In my heart I have but one desire, and that one is you. No other will do. I've lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love. And with your admission, you'd feel the same. I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just wanna start a flame in your heart. I've lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love. And with your admission, you'd feel the same. I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just wanna start a flame in your heart.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Teresa Show. I'm your host, Tori. I'm running a little bit late only because I was trying to get Periscope on as well, so that way people can listen or watch the Tori Says Show, without having to subscribe on Twitch, because I'm using Twitch because I am unable to live stream to YouTube, and Twitch is a lot easier to watch on your TV, obviously better than Facebook and Periscope too. I don't know about DLive, if anyone actually connects that, but we have a lot to talk about today, a lot of foreign policy to talk about too, and a lot of local stuff as well. And I thought that we can start off with our local. But first of all, I have to say that the RNC conference was incredible, more so because they had average people talking. It wasn't, celebrities and, interest-driven pundits or people that think they know what they're talking about. Because we have a lot of that congestion, a lot of people out there putting commentary as if they're experts and they're not, because probably most of them haven't even been to those countries or, actually understand the concept of foreign relations. And so one thing we have to understand is Barbara Cochran had made a great point that the one thing the president of the United States can do very effectively is figure out what your weak point is, figure out what you like and what you don't like. And that's what's incredible, because that is exactly what we wanted from the RNC. We wanted relatability. We wanted to hear what the people have to say. Obviously, Nikki Haley was a flop. I do not like that at all. But, there are people within our own party. And I told you this months ago, and I said, watch out, because here it comes. You're going to see it right after July 20th. You're going to see a roller coaster and the chips will settle, right? The sides will be shown because people are going to be pulling their pants down, because Labor Day, the marker of Labor Day, from Labor Day until the day we elect this man, which is exactly 70 days away, we will have to know where we're going. It's not like, have you guys ever watched movies where I'm really into like Vikings and whatnot. So when they get like on the shores of England and they're fighting, they all look the same. They don't have like, team shirts, like red ones, yellow ones, blue ones, green ones. They just all fight with axes. And I'm like, how do they know who's on their team when there's so many hundreds of them? So what we need to do is understand who's on our team, and you're seeing it. You're seeing everything fracture. And Shadowgate was dropped at a very important time. I wanted it earlier, so that way when Brennan is hotboxed, that more questions come out. But if you see, it's after Brennan. I mean, why Alyssa though? I'm just going to say why Alyssa. But if you see after Brennan's hotboxing, we're going to see a lot of people leaving. And it's important to understand that, because the military industrial complex isn't only people that are generals and admirals and former soldiers, right? It is massive. They own everybody. They own every single person. They own celebrities. They own your pundits. They own the guy on the corner that sells you donuts, or the hot dog cart guy. They own everybody. That's the extent they go. They leave no stone unturned. And it all stems back to this shadow, how do I say this, underlying this subterranean government, right? That is the one that pulls the strings. And I've said this before. Shadowgate gave you the puppet masters, and they hate President Trump. And you saw it only a couple days after it was released. All the clowns on that video and all their ilk, right? And all the other people that are within their companies, right? All of them sided with Joe Biden. You know why they're pissed at President Trump? Because he is not a marionette. He will not allow them to pull any of his strings. You can't tell Donald Trump what to do. You can't. Because he didn't jump into this game to become famous. He already was. He didn't jump into this game to make money. He's lost money. He didn't come into this game because he's a narcissist. He came into this game because he's like, dude, my time is almost up. And this country gave me so much. And I've been able to see just how much unfair stuff is going. And I'd rather be standing up there getting shot at with lies and hate and lawsuits and false claims. At least I fought. And that is the epitome of standing for something and not falling for everything. He could have just sat and enjoyed the rest of his life, but he didn't. And that's exactly what every single one of us should be doing. This is what every single one of us have been doing. And President Trump is not making American history. He's writing it. And you know who's the pen? You, me, we are the pen. He's writing history. He's not making it. He's writing history, and we're his pen. And I've said this, all these people, that are attacking patriots, attacking, people that are all about pushing things from the darkness into the light. They're like, oh, you have to, you have to just trust the plan. No, you don't seem to understand how that works, because you're a loser, and you don't understand what that means because you're a loser. That doesn't mean sit idly. It doesn't mean, hey, we got this, you just sit back. It means you need to get loud. You need to speak. The president told you that. You need to make yourself heard. He's said that, but we talked about the plan on many levels. Oh, and speaking of Q, now people remember, right? Because my listeners know, now people are talking about, oh, the trip codes might have been compromised. Oh, I said that. I think that was the last push out tweet that I got and got me slap. So that is true. And like I said many times before, I can give you a list of names of anybody and their mother. I don't need that list, because the people that need to know that list, that actually attempted to do it, because there's IPs, there's logins. You can't obfuscate that well. Right? You can't. And I've mentioned that a couple times, I've also mentioned, do not say, oh, I went to QMAP and saw, don't read the titles, just read the drops, because they're not even meant for people. By the way, they were never meant for people either. But okay, I digress. We already talked about it. We don't need to elaborate on that because we've been talking about it. Because while other people are trying to catch up, we're looking to see how we can be that amazing pen writing history with the president, okay? Because everybody else is playing catch up, okay? So what we need to do is focus on the facts. I mean, damn, they are obsessed with Q. Obsessed. Wow, pretty interesting. The one thing is that I want to mention is the president made it clear to us that what has happened to a lot of his own people is just ridiculous. We've discussed how important it was to observe those that had General Flynn's back. And I remember, and you can listen to my shows from 2018, because, those that talk like to say, she just came out of nowhere. I've been here all the time, giving you every single thing I have within the goalposts that I'm allowed to shift in. But in November of 2018, when William Barr was announced, I actually said, General Flynn will never be sentenced. And I was right. And a lot of people said, no, he pled guilty. He did this. Think about it, what the president said. If they can box a general, lie, manufacture information, destroy information, destroy evidence, plant evidence, dox, and do all this to a general, what do you think they can do to you? Now, this is a statement that he's mentioned and said, which I believe most of you that have seen what has happened to General Flynn, how they've destroyed him, he's so honorable, and he stands tall while they sling mud in his face. You've seen what they did to him. So your question is, do I really want to put my neck out there? Because I will have an even swifter fate than that of the general, because for him, they couldn't eradicate him like they can you or me. Well, let them try. I mean, look at the type of clowns that they've put on me. Like, for example, they have this guy named Ali who's so obsessed, right? And, he's so dumb. I had the North Dakota Attorney General, the whole power of his state, and a barrage of secret subpoenas right up my anus, and gave me a colonoscopy so thorough, and he came up with nothing. But Ali, the loser, the grifter, has more power than a whole state and an attorney general, that all he could do, since he came up empty, was drop me a civil suit, which, by the way, I'm taking to the Supreme Court, because you can diddle with your district court judges that have loans and debts to the attorney general, but you can't mess with the Supreme Court. That's dangerous. So, he did it to bankrupt me. He did it to push on me, and he got nothing. All he did was try to unmask me. He had no victim, no monetary loss, no complaint. This is how they operate. Now, for all these amateurs that are going to come out and talk to me, I want you to forget about me and look at what they've done to everybody else that is more not in the shadows like me, not that has had tragedies in the family like me. Look at the others that they do. Look at the others. Now, that tells you exactly who's paying, who's pushing, who's doing, and who's part of it. And you're seeing it all. Now, I feel really, really bad. I'm really trying to recover my website. I have some great people that have archived a few things, and I need to put it. So I'll just tell you, when I wrote that the whistleblower was a wiretap, I had a tweet by George Conway in there. And that was written last year. And that was a hint as to what was going on. Kellyanne Conway is a great person. But unfortunately, Brennan had been in the box And, things were questioned because a lot of things were brought to light with Shadowgate for those that understood what it said, for those that could read between the lines and understand it, which we're going to get into because one person actually took what we gave them and found exactly what I've been saying for a long time. I mean, I even planted it in a very old article in 2018 on Big League Politics to tell you what is happening. And so it's pretty interesting, how things are going to pan out. People need to understand that Durham was not appointed, was not appointed by Barr, but he was appointed by Sessions. That was in my article too, because I showed you, I think it was Baker that mentioned it because he was being grilled and questioning, and they were like, oh, you mean Huber? He was like, no, Durham. That Durham was the prosecutor looking at Baker. Now, again, Durham is looking at whose idea and who manufactured. I mean, I could tell him. I mean, we all know who it is. It was that group, the High Value Intelligence Group. Now, Brennan did not play an active part in this, okay? He did not play an active part in the dossier. That was another team. You delegate, okay? You delegate. That was another team. This was all law enforcement, Hillary Clinton, and I could tell you, Daniel J. Jones was one of the top freaking contributors. I wrote so many articles about this little weasel that has rose up from Teach America to giving the CIA supposedly a colonoscopy, which, by the way, why is it still there? Can we dismantle it already, please? These are the people that are responsible for the dossier. These are private individuals within the Department of Justice, individuals within the FBI, right? These are the people that are responsible for the dossier. The crimes that the dossier was covering up is what John Brennan is guilty of, what Clapper is guilty of, what Obama is guilty of. I've been tweeting impeach 44 for a while because we can do that. That is the way we undo all the rubbish, all of it that has been put forward, all of it. Every single bit of it. So, what we need to be doing is understanding that there are many different operations that were conducted. We had the actual crimes with the abuse of the NSA. Then overlapping to that is the judicial corruption, and that will be unveiled with SCOTUS Gate. And then with that, we have the dossier, the manufacturing of false and fabricated evidence, that all these, that are there, right? False and fabricated evidence. Can we even call it evidence? I mean, what is it? Fairy tales, wishful thinking. Anyway, so we have that, the dossier, but then we have more judicial issues and justice issues because we had the Mueller investigation, which was a paper shredding event. Okay, was a bleach bit event, was a cover-up event, was not there to deliver justice event, because there have been many of us that reached out to Mueller's team to provide information, and they refused. So this is how it is. So we had the Mueller, and then we have more judicial and justice misconduct with the judicial branch of government that I've always said is one of the most corrupt ones. I mean, we do have issues with our legislative. I mean, they're apparent, okay? And executive office, take it as you wish. Do you think it's a problem or not? I mean, that happens all the time. But the main concern here is the judicial branch, because that's the one that has been corrupted and is a very, very big deal. Because if your Lady Justice cannot be blind, right, then that's a problem. I can speak from, personal experience. I went before a judge when the Attorney General came, and he's like, you need to provide him this. Why should I? He already did secret subpoenas. He's sitting there going like, I don't know what she's talking about. He even did not want to even acknowledge that he used secret subpoenas. And I was like, this is America. If he has a complaint, he could show it to me and I'll answer the question. This is the United States of America. He can't just throw me in here and say, pull your pants down. He needs to show me why he wants me to do it. I legit said that. And I said, this is America. That should be enough for my response. And that judge totally violated it. And not only that, he did exactly what Judge Collier did in the end. In the end, he said, well, if she would have invoked her personal rights, I did. But because I didn't have a lawyer at the time, because I thought this is so frivolous, there's no way a judge would be so corrupt to do this. I was like, this is America. He can't just come at me and say, give me this. I mean, I'm afforded rights. I'm a US citizen. He can't do this. And then in the end, when he finds at his, to say the attorney general was right, the attorney general asked her these things, but if Mrs. was going to tell me that she's invoking her, rights, I wouldn't have done it. There is recorded transcripts that I did. So then I put that to the Supreme Court and they're like, dude, she told you. And then it's going back to the Supreme Court. They're passing the buck because they're terrified. They violated my rights and they're terrified, and they should be. And this is what we've seen to others. This is the judicial misconduct. All of these idiots need to go. So corrupt, so disgusting. And this happens all the time. For someone that's an average person that hasn't put up a fight with a whole freaking state and cartels, right? This sounds crazy. But okay, don't listen to me. Look at what they did to General Flynn. Look at what they did to Roger Stone. Look at what they did to all these other people. And this is the problem. This is a problem, that they take advantage of the fact that you're a little person. They take advantage of that fact and they instill fear in you. So you shut your mouth, or else they'll sick on you. Ali Akbar sounds totally apt, to come at you with his frivolous things. And he doesn't understand. We invented psyops. What if we made sure that corrupt source was actually psyoping you? And, unfortunately, you fell into that trap. See, righteous people are not scared of anything. And that's the way it is. And did someone say she went to the Supreme? I did go to the Supreme Court and it was kicked back. Who is this troll? I hate trolls. They irritate me so much because they're paid. This is why we have problems in the United States of America. It's because of people like that will take $1 or take a click or fall into traps and listen to things. I mean, look, you're going to see just how many people are going to lose their businesses, how many people are going to lose their radio stations for their actions, and how many people are going to fall because of this, because they're on the wrong side of history. And the president does not take kind to it. If you remember, my first tweet was, I serve Crow. Crow is something important. So let's go. Hold on. I want to start with my favorite, Tucker Carlson, who made a very sound argument and question, like, when do we get America back? Like, when are they going to release our nation from being hostage to these criminals, right? From these insane individuals that, have taken over our nation. When do we get our nation back is the question. So he puts it so well, and I simply j'adore Tucker. Take a listen to him.
Really haven't. For months, most of us have stayed close to home. We've had to. So the next time you get on a plane and visit a couple of American cities, you may be surprised, especially if you remember those cities well from before the pandemic. An awful lot has changed in a short time. Many stores and restaurants are closed. You expect that. Churches are locked on Sunday morning. That's weird. The streets seem empty except for the parks, which are full of homeless. When you do see people, they tend to be wearing masks and they won't get close to you. It's a very strange experience. The country has changed a lot. The culture has changed a lot, and really not for the better. So the question is, how long will this last? How long do we have to endure this? When do we get our country back? When can we live like we used to live back in February? That question is too rarely asked, and in fact, asking it is actively discouraged. At first, you'll remember the authorities told us we could resume our lives when hospital admissions tapered off and we flattened the curve. The curve stayed flat. In most places, it never bent. So we got a new benchmark for when we can get back to normal, when we get a vaccine. Everything will be fine once we can vaccinate against COVID-19. Many in authority told us that. They're still telling us that. The state of Virginia has announced that when a vaccine finally does arrive, it will be mandatory. Not all vaccines. Virginia will not require vaccines for hepatitis or HIV. They won't require a vaccine for meningitis either, despite the fact that meningitis kills a lot more, say, college students than coronavirus does. But once we get a corona vaccine, they're telling us all will be well. But now they've changed that. Not true anymore. According to a new announcement from the World Health Organization, a vaccine, even if we get one, will not be the end of all of this. It will never end. You can get your injection, they'll make you get it, but you'll still be under arrest. The World Health Organization says that finding a vaccine is not the goal. Reordering society is the goal. Quote, we cannot go back to the way things were. That's a direct quote from the leader of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, who, by the way, is not really a doctor. Because
well, he's not a physician doctor, but he is a researcher. A lot of people talk about that and give smack. You know, PhD researchers are doctors. I mean, I'm a PhD candidate. I just haven't finished stuff because the whole purpose of me going back to school was for something else that I can't talk about much. But Tedros actually was a leading health director in regards to malaria. He knew everything there is to know about hydroxychloroquine, which, by the way, I wanted to say something on that since he brought up Tedros. So we were here back in April and May and March, early March, before anyone was talking about what is this COVID or anything. I told you guys it's related to AIDS, malaria. There's a relationship without saying too much, because I would send those research papers and information to other people that were more, that had the bandwidth and were able to deal with it, because I'm only one person. It's not like I could do a million things at once, because I don't think people realize I don't have a team. It's just me. And so, well, I do have a team, I have to say, all these amazing patriots and anons, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so I made it clear to you guys that the thing that hurt the most was the actual Lancet journal that had put together a false, research paper on hydroxychloroquine. And I talked about that because that was the Bible of medicine. That is where people would go. That's where people would go, all doctors. It's kind of like the New England Health Journal, right? So you go there to see cases, to find information, to understand what's going on. It's your Bible. And so they actually paid a company within a company within a company to violate and assail a 200-year-old, bona fide medical reference journal. Like, that was disgusting. And this is why the mindless doctors and nurses that fell behind we're not giving you hydroxychloroquine because Lancet is understandable. It's like, that is the Bible of medicine. And if it's been published there, it has to be real. This is why they were so against it, because they didn't use their critical thinking like those doctors who are just as banned as Shadowgate globally on the internet, because they actually used their noodle and said, well, hold on a second, that doesn't make sense. They started digging, because these are smart people. They started digging to find out, well, hold on a second, why did the Lancet Journal publish it? Who paid for it? And once you follow the money, right, you realize that it's a shell corporation paid by shills that leads to some really big names that that did this. It's pretty incredible, just how far they went. This is why the WHO was defunded, because maybe the defunding of the WHO tells you why or where the Lancet Journal thing came from. This is important, right? They're messing with your health. They're disallowing you to have access to health care. Right to try, for me, when I saw it happen, was one, a backup for what's coming, what was happening now. Because with the right to try, you could have invoked it with any doctor that would have sat there and said, I'm not giving it to you. And it's like, well, right to try. But the other thing about right to try is that it took the shackles off of your health. See, what people don't realize is that Obamacare tied your health, everything about you, your health insurance, your health, your car insurance, your financial score, your credit scores, your school records, your dental record, all tied under one law. So your health was shackled to the big fat pockets of pharma directors. If they didn't want to give you a medicine, you were not going to get it. And specifically, it was choking the over 65 community by pushing away from allowing them, right, to have access to medications. So what President Trump did with Right to Try was jump that hurdle and take those shackles off of your health, being dependent on your insurance and drug companies. That's number one. Because your insurance company would be like, oh, I would totally love for you to try this medication. And even though it's like a tier 5 and you have to pay 33%, we'll have to let our medical doctors check with the pharmaceutical company. And then you go to them, and then some tool sitting, in an office, at United Healthcare that may or may not have completed, their actual residency, turns around and says, yeah, so-and-so, you're not getting it because, the pharmaceutical company can't guarantee this, blah, 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 right? So it is really important that you realize that the one thing money can never buy, well, can extend, and it can make it comfortable. And it's a lot easier to cry in a Lamborghini than it is on a bicycle. But the one thing money can't buy is your health. That is the most precious thing you own, you have, is your health. And they are negotiating and playing with your health. Remember, about a year and a half ago, or was it a year ago? I don't even remember. One of my shows, I explained to you the difference between the CDC and the CDC. And you're going to be like, what? One is a private/public company, the one where Fauci, and the other one is actually owned by Congress. What? Oh, yes. So your health is the most important thing. And now they're messing with that. They are targeting that. And again, they have no problem killing you to prove anything is right or wrong. They have no problem taking you out, causing you harm. They really, really don't care as long as they maintain power. That is their driving force. That is their primary food source. I'm not going to go there yet. All right, let's take a listen to what else our amazing Tucker said.
COVID-19 is not a public health crisis, really, or even a mere virus. According to Tedros, COVID-19 is, in fact, this may surprise you, COVID-19 is really about global warming. As he puts it, quote, the COVID-19 pandemic has given new impetus to the need to accelerate efforts to respond to climate change. Bet you didn't see that coming. Bill Gates did.
Wait a minute, you guys did. Remember, it was all a part of the Green New Deal, the money grab. We talked about this. This is all about submission and obey, right? This is it. This is it.
He agrees with that wholeheartedly. Earlier this month, Gates posted an essay to his personal website, which you probably haven't seen, arguing that the lesson of the corona pandemic is that the rest of us will have to sacrifice even more to save the earth from warming. Now, for people who are not billionaire global influencers, this is all pretty confusing. Quick, what does the coronavirus have to do with climate change? Well, for one thing, China caused both of them. That's the obvious link. But that is definitely not the point Dr. Tedros and Bill Gates are making. Both of them bow before China. They would never meaningfully criticize the Chinese government. So you can be assured that's not the connection they're drawing. No. For Dr. Tedros and Bill Gates, pandemic and climate change share a very different connection. Both are useful pretexts for mass social control. Both are essentially unsolvable crises they can harness to bypass democracy and force powerless populations to obey their commands. Now it makes sense. Ever wondered why our leaders consider the coronavirus a major public health crisis, but not, say, suicides and drug ODs? Well, this is why. When a 26-year-old mother in New Hampshire drops dead from fentanyl, Bill Gates and Dr. Tedros don't get more powerful. Her death is useless to them. So they don't care. If you actually wanted to improve people's lives, you would look at things very differently, and you would probably reach very different conclusions about the pandemic. In just a few weeks, a deadly virus spread from central China through Europe to every major city in the West. And as that happened, the World Health Organization did nothing to stop it and, in fact, spread disinformation as it was happening.
You mean the stuff that we were talking about on Tory Says in February and March? Remember, I told you that they're going to be counting any death if you fall out of a plane, coronavirus. You get eaten by a shark, coronavirus. They were skewing everything. And I had eyes in Italy, and they were all people. Did you know that they had direct flights from that place in Italy to Wuhan? It was such a setup. It was ridiculous. But this was because they wanted to hijack us and see this setup, right? For those that are a little bit more woke and more able to understand, because when they really release whatever they want to release, hence the ventilators and the uptick on doing that, okay, then you won't see it coming. You see how the hijack works? You show someone your true colors, the sheep, the idiots that are terrified wearing gloves right now, masks, like it's going to save them. They've never been to a level 3 or level 2 laboratory to see you don't wear those masks, and it's totally not going to save you. But those people that had that weak spot, remember, it's all about understanding the target demographic you have. So this is how PSYOPs work. So look at it this way. There were those that believed in like tree hugging, and they were granola munching and were very well indoctrinated through the educational system to believe anything they tell them. Now they're telling you that it's climate change and this is why we have COVID, So they amplified the average flu season, which by the way, they provoked by giving people booster shots because 100% of the deaths had actually received a flu vaccine. So they put this all out there, right? You're seeing it. You, the sane person, is seeing it and saying, well, hold on a second. What the heck? And then suddenly it's being exposed. The president did exactly what we said here he would do. I told you. He put the team in front and said, here's your specialist. You love them? Listen to them. I don't know anything. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything. I'm not in it. I'm the president, and I'm being advised by those that are telling me these things. And you, mainstream media and people, believe them. So jump on it. And that's exactly what they did. And they all were pulling their pants down slowly. And then they came in you, reality hacking you with 5G. What people don't seem to understand is every single time from 1G to 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G, and now the new one, which is called split 6G. All the time that there are biological effects, no matter what. I mean, these are waves. We all resonate on frequencies. Our atoms resonate on frequencies. I mean, that's the basis of atomic science, right? So there's always going to be an issue. But the question that you will have now is, when something really does happen, how do I know? And this is something that I've been saying from day one. Just listen to your president. Don't listen to these idiot pundits. Don't listen to anybody in the news. Listen to your president. He will tell you everything you need to know. No one else, because he's the only one that's got your back. And that's the thing. They've now segregated. They've got the really indoctrinated people that are easy to hijack, the semi-indoctrinated people that are easy to that have now been hijacked. Then they have the people on the fence, and you're seeing them. They're jumping ship. They're showing their true colors. You're seeing who's really on the Make America Great Again side and who's really not. You can see it. You can see it now. They're all choosing a camp because the war is happening now. This is the revolution. President said, welcome to the revolution. It's here. It's happening. And it's going to be pretty explosive. And so those that jump ship to consistent messages, to consistent person speaking, to consistent reporting, to consistent everything, are the ones that are being attacked. I mean, look at Tucker. He's under fire like crazy, and he's been very consistent. And people love him, people hate him. That's fine. Because if you have enemies, that means you're doing something right. That means you stood up for something. And this is why this man has enemies and many more. So what you need to do is be impartial and look at the facts. Okay. We've talked about this. I told you it was related to malaria. Hint, hint. I told you how they work and how this was a fraud and this is all about obey, but this was to hijack and create the right camps. They outlawed anyone speaking against it. They outlawed, and the thing is, it was exaggerated in order to hijack you. This was a psyop. This was an absolute psyop. And not a lot of people understand that when you're being hijacked, you don't know you're being hijacked. Okay. You wouldn't know at all. And I've said, you're the cure. Plasma, blood. They need that collection. We did that whole, hemivore episode. Look at it. This is to create indoctrination, because when the real one is released, they're going to need your plasma, right? And you won't be there because climate change, of course, right? This is their narrative. So we must be focusing on what we can see that's definitive. We can see. When do they censor people? When they speak truth. Look at Laura Loomer. She exposed, together, what we did with the University of North Dakota, where I found documentation and I pressed and pressed, we found that she was married, that she defrauded for loans, living on campus, but she was with her brother, and it was just a hot mess. She put that out there. Then handlers started to come around to, choke her. And then they silenced her so hard that she couldn't bank. She couldn't order foods. And that tells you everything you need. They needed to control her. And the thing is, they still are trying to control her. They have people flocking to her like you wouldn't know. And not only her, but Polina. We have so many people. Remember how disappointed people were with Crenshaw, right? So behind him, so this, so that. And it's like, what? Dude, I was duped. And it's like, because we don't see that they strangulate people and they put them in these boxes so they can't escape, so they can focus. That's the thing. What we're seeing is war, and it is one of the most civilized wars that have existed ever. So civilized that you don't even see it. And by the time it happens, you're going to look back and say, I didn't ask for this. And it's like, I'm sorry. Yes, you did. Because you bowed your head. You said, oh, I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need trouble. I don't want someone attacking me. I don't want this. This is how they operate. And they push you into that corner where you keep your mouth shut. I mean, look at what they did to the president out the gate. They had like all these victims and all these, videos and all these lawsuits and all this, everything, right? Everything. Because they knew that our president, he had one weakness, and that was women. That's what's up. And that's okay. I mean, why not? Why not? Who else doesn't have a weakness for women? Like, I'm just saying, this was all thrown at the president. They've messed with our food. They're pushing Impossible Burgers. They're pushing all this stuff, and it's right under your nose. And there's so much coming at once that you don't know where to focus. And therefore, what you have to do is focus on what you can see, not the things that you don't see. Focus on you, center yourself, center your inner guidance to tell you what's fact or fiction. Orchestrated attacks on the president, on the drug. Well, like what? I've taken hydroxychloroquine, been vaccinated for everything. But I took it when I had to go into regions that had malaria. No one died. We've been using it for how long? And now it's dangerous for us. That is the key here. That you have to see these orchestrated attacks, because each attack that they do in each, facet, either that be healthcare, foreign policy, domestic policy, laws, exposés, whatever, all of these are reality hijacks to all of you. These are psyops. And what they do is they try to indoctrinate more to fall on the other side of the fence and stay on the other. You need to reconcile what you find fact or fiction. You need to do it because you're responsible for you. Because being ignorant is not it. I'm going to remind you that experiment. Do you remember that experiment that I had done for you, played for you, which is like from the 60s, where they had this guy electroshocking someone, increasing the power to it constantly. And then in the end, he's like, oh my gosh, I can't push that button. The guy's not talking. He's been screaming and he's in pain and stuff. And I'm giving him electricity. I'm electroshocking him. And, what if he's dead? And the doctor was like, Well, you did it. He's like, I didn't want to. And he's like, you told me to. Oh, so because somebody else tells you to, yeah, the Milgram experiments, somebody else tells you to, and you're pushing the switch. Oh, you told me to, so that's okay. Do you see how that psyop works? See, all those experiments were to find more information and more data on how to control how you think and how you respond. Okay. Money is a great driver, but what you have to understand is they can target you, right? Yeah, he had a white coat. He had a title. There you go. Brand names, tiaras. I told you this a very long time ago. Why are you focusing on the brand names and the tiaras? Look at where the truth is coming. And if not, just look at your president. That's it. You don't need anybody. You don't need anybody. They've been doing this for so long that you don't know what left is to right, up, or down. They have hijacked the crap out of you. Now they're spoon feeding. It's climate change for coronavirus. They have confused you so much, and that's the key. If you can confuse your opposition, right? If you can confuse your opposition, then when you do attack, they can't see it coming. That's the whole point. That's why we're making ventilators.
Those are the facts. So what would a rational person conclude from those facts? Well, the first and most obvious lesson is globalization has risks. It has upsides, of course, cheaper plastic crap from China, but it also has risks. Pandemic spread very, very fast. Then, as it happened, our most important international public health organization failed on purpose. It's corrupt. The WHO is corrupt. That's a huge problem. That's the other lesson. But no one's learning those lessons. When was the last time you heard Bill Gates or Dr. Tedros say those things? Never. They never will say them because they wouldn't benefit from acknowledging they're true. This is true about all crises. They only take the lessons that empower them. How about global warming? How would a rational person assess global warming? If you really believe that carbon emissions were distorting the Earth's climate, and that's the claim they make, maybe they're right, then you would take a very close look at the forces behind those carbon emissions. You would ask hard questions about the global economy. You'd wonder, who's profiting from this system that's destroying the Earth? How exactly do the richest, most powerful people in the world, that would be big finance and the tech monopolies, contribute to carbon emissions? That would be the first question you would ask. That's the logical way to think about climate change. And if you began to think that way, you might wind up concluding that people like, I don't know, Michael Bloomberg were in fact climate criminals. Their private jets alone produce more carbon emissions a year than entire African villages do, not to mention more than your neighborhood does. A lot.
And let's remember that all this deploying of our jobs to India and China, right, did what? They had all these factories. And if you look at it, most of the carbon emissions, which supposedly affect the planet, you know, kind of like that whole hairspray scam with Suzuki in the 70s and 80s, right? They're responsible for it because everyone's pouring money into these nations and they're putting these supposed carbon emissions, but they're not being penalized. They're being rewarded with more work and more money and more trade, yet they strangulate our nation to not have carbon emissions and be green friendly, which, by the way, if you see GSG's website, it's actually a Global Strategies Group. After they took their whole website down and revamped it, scrubbed all the names of former NSA, they didn't want Hayden and all these other people's names on it, right? And they scrubbed it along with the GCHQ website. Yeah, the headquarters of their super intelligence had been taken down after Millie Weaver had put out that report, right? And they totally nixed my access to the private system of Global Strategies Group. So they literally had the Damazian group that supposedly funds them change from we're powered to Diablo by Diablo to green trees. Goes back to green stuff.
A lot more. But tellingly, no one on the environmental left ever criticizes Michael Bloomberg. He's considered a leader in the fight against climate change. On the basis of the numbers, that is ludicrous, but they say it with a straight face and demand you believe it. Part of this is human nature. All of us tend to place ourselves at the center, in the heroic center of our own narratives. That's particularly true of rich people who tend toward the narcissistic. But in this case, they are evading responsibility. They are profiting directly from a system they claim is unacceptable, but it's not their fault somehow. You know whose fault it is? Oh, it's your fault. You're the one who's doing it. You're the one who's killing humanity. You're the one who must change. You've got too many kids. You drive a pickup truck. You forgot to wear your little mask. You're going to hell. Good luck with your bankruptcies and your opioid crisis and your broken lives, middle America. We'll be at the Yellowstone Club having a drink. It's a scam. It's an obvious scam. Here's another data point for you that you won't see on television. Less than a month ago, on July 31st, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta, our primary public health organization, funded by the federal government, released guidelines to state health departments about patients infected with the coronavirus. How do you track the spread of this disease? In a footnote in the release, the CDC acknowledged that researchers lack evidence that, quote, masks offer any protection against coronavirus, any at all. As health officials work to track the spread of the virus, the CDC suggested that they ignore whether or not people were wearing masks. In other words, wearing a mask may be completely irrelevant to the spread of the virus. Huh? So there is still no proof that masks protect us against COVID-19?
Guys, no joke. So I went to my Starbucks, my local Starbucks. They know me, and I pick it up. Now, in order to approach to pick up my coffee or order, I have to wear my mask. Now, this is like at my doorstep, right? At my doorstep. And that property is part of my doorstep. And I had the Starbucks manager come out to me and say, you need to wear your mask. I mean, what? Wait, where I live? Like, this isn't well, we rent this whole space and you need to keep others safe. I was like, does your mask work? He's like, listen, Tori, you have to wear your mask. I kid you not. I was on the telephone with Patrick Berkey when he said that I had a mask Nazi come up to me. And I was like, dude, are you kidding? Like, this is I was like, whatever. These people are so obsessed to have you obey. You must obey. Obviously I wear my MAGA mask, right? I obey really proudly. I put it on, walk through, and then have it on my chin so everyone can see. Make America great again. And, then I've told you this before, all these other, vaginas that supposedly are pro-America don't. They'd like give me a little, thumbs up, and they're like, go, yeah, you're so brave. And it's like, why can't you be brave? I could drive through, the hood with, tons of Trump stickers, and none of you can do it. That's the thing. You need to be standing up, right? You need to be standing up, or else if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. And I've seen it. I've seen people that I know fall for rubbish. The rubbish that they've been outing, supposedly, they fell for. And it's like, damn, looks like you were all talk. Damn, you got paid. I already saw that. Damn. It's all about, yeah, like I said, the CCP was our dry run. And that's it. I've been telling you the news way before the news for a while. The president has been telling you the news way before the news for a while. Friday, when Shadowgate dropped, he was pissed. You saw that conference. And, he said, what do you mean, Jesper? What do you mean anybody's fireable in my cabinet? Because, like I've said, what people haven't done is actually watch this, which we'll get into after we finish with Tucker. And obviously, I play my commercials.
That is apparently the conclusion the CDC reached. It's not something Trump tweeted. The CDC put that in a release to the states. It seems like a blockbuster story. Why isn't that on page 1 of the New York Times? Why is the entire media, the entire leadership class of the United States of America ignoring this? Masks are obligatory. They're mandatory everywhere. Just the other day, Joe Biden announced that if he's elected, you'll be required to wear a mask when you're alone outside. What is going on? You know what's going on. Fear works. The more afraid you are, the more you will accept. Again, a feature of human nature.
Exactly. That is it. Fear porn. Didn't I say this? You resonate on a lower frequency and they hijack the crap out of your mind, and they can feed you and make you obey with fear. We've been talking about this.
The more cut off you are from your family and your friends, the more power they have to control you. This is an election year. Democrats want to win in November. The virus is their main shot to win. Nobody disputes that who's looked at the numbers. They're using fear of the coronavirus to achieve that. For example, polling places. They would like to close more of them. Why? To force a vote by mail. Why? Because vote by mail is more easy to manipulate. The latest coronavirus relief bill the Democrats are pushing would bring ballot harvesting to every state. What does that have to do with defeating the virus? Nothing. It's not science, it's politics. But here's the key thing to remember. All of us are assuming, and on the right, it is gospel. This will end if Joe Biden wins. On Inauguration Day, no more lockdowns. Yeah, don't bet on it. This isn't ending. The Wuhan pandemic has made our leadership class more powerful than they have ever been. Why would they relinquish that? The only politician in America who has ever given up power voluntarily is George Washington, and they're toppling his statues.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So why would they relinquish power? Can you see the people of the right attacking their own base? They hijack you. They come at you. They have so much. And voting, we talked about this. Everyone's like, mail-in ballot scam. Remember how I told you they would win? We should revisit that. Remember how I told you they're going to win? How they're going to do it? While I play my break, I'll scroll through the comments and see if anyone has figured out what we had said. How are they going to win these elections? Because the whole mail-in ballot's not going to work, right? It's not. And they know it. And they're terrified. And they should.
The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. Every decision will be made to benefit American workers and American families. America will start winning again, winning like never before. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. Do not allow anyone to tell you that it cannot be done. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. We will not fail. Our country will thrive and prosper again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable.
After nearly 4 years, my family's nightmare is finally over. We couldn't have survived this without the love and support of the millions of patriots around the world. Thank you from the bottom of our heart.
Hi, I'm Laura Loomer, and I'm running for Congress in Florida's 21st Congressional District. Wouldn't it be horrible if we lived in a nation where journalists were silenced just because they confronted the political and media elite? You might think that could never happen in America, but it did. And to me. For confronting people like Hillary Clinton on her corruption and Ilhan Omar for her ties to radical Islamic terror groups, I have been banned on pretty much every single social media platform. And if that doesn't sound extreme enough, I'm also banned on Uber and Lyft. I know, I cannot understand that last one either. When this all happened to me, I contacted the media and members of Congress. I asked them for help. I kept calling, I kept emailing, but I never received a reply. And that's when it hit me. I'm a well-known journalist who has the phone numbers of the most powerful people in politics and media, yet I couldn't get any assistance. What on earth would the average American do if the same thing happened to them? I realized then that if I wanted to see change, that I would need to run for office. The American people deserve representation that listens to and acts on their concerns. So here I am, running for Congress in Florida's 21st Congressional District, because the American people deserve a voice and a representative who, like President Trump, will keep the promises they make and speak up loudly and clearly for that silent majority.
And that's what's up. Okay, so let's listen to one of my other favorite songs while I line up all my little audios here for you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Take the children and yourself and hide out in the cellar. But now the fighting will be close at hand. Don't believe the church and state and everything they tell you. Believe in me, I'm with the command. Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? There's a gun and ammunition just inside the doorway. Use it only in emergencies. Better you should pray to God, Father and Spirit. Protect you and guide you from up here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Swear allegiance to the flag, whatever flag they offer. Never hint at how you really feel. Teach your children quietly, but one day sons and daughters will rise up and fight while we stood still. Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you?
All right, so welcome back. So I think that what we need to start with is a reminder of how they're going to say they won the elections. We've talked about this before. I've mentioned it before a few times, and a lot of you did remember what I told you, because the whole plot of this, whole post office scheme is not going to work. So let's listen to the father of hijacking, the father of PSYOPs's daughter, the MSDNC, what they had to say. This tells you everything.
Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we won't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm second in line to the presidency. And just last week, I had my regular continuation of government briefing. This might interest you.
This comes from the woman that the King of Jordan kicked out when she demanded that he align with her to take out President Trump. She's second in line. What you mean, from the ticket or directly second? Which one is it? She doesn't care. They're going to inaugurate even if he doesn't want to leave the White House. Pay attention to the words that they're telling you, because they tell you everything they're going to do. They tell you who they are. I've said this before. Every single person tells you who they are if you're listening. We've lost the ability to listen. We just hear and we jump on little stupid things. Listen to it again. This tells you what they're going to do.
Whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we won't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm second in line to the presidency. And just last week, I had my regular continuation of government briefing. This might interest you, because I say to them, this is never going to happen. God willing, it never will. But there is a process. It has nothing to do with if the certain occupant of the White House doesn't feel like moving and has to be fumigated out of there, because the presidency is the presidency. It's not geography or location. So much for him. I wouldn't spend so much time on it.
Okay, and that's the other nugget. Listen to these. It's only 50 seconds. You need to listen to it carefully. And then I will reiterate to you their plan. She's telling you what they're going to do.
Fact is, whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we won't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm second.
Okay, so who's the duly elected president of the United States? Listen, if he doesn't know it yet, but he's leaving, she says. Definitive, right? He's leaving no matter what he says. And it doesn't matter if he doesn't leave the White House. We're still going to inaugurate a duly elected president. So they're going to say that Joe Biden won and they're just going to inaugurate him anyway, even though they didn't win, pretty much.
Second in line to the presidency. And just last week, I had my regular continuation of government.
And I've been talking about the continuation of government for how long? How long have I been talking about this? How we have people within the White House? How long? The continuation of government was continued by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They were pissed. The revolving door of the president's cabinet is him, keeping them close. And you're going to say, why would he have them around them? Well, you got to keep your enemies like a pacemaker to a heart. That's how close they have to be. How else do you follow back to where they go? See, I'll give you an example of how you panic them and they mess up, because this is a lesson. Okay, PSYOP 101. So 3 years now, I've not shied away from the battle that I've been having with the limp-wristed, corrupt, criminal Attorney General of North Dakota that's been in office for over 20 years. Keep in mind, 20 years. And he was coming out. He pushed me into the light, which is really annoying because I was always the person in the shadows. Never went out with my name. Even the first article that was published in my name with my name on it, I freaked out. And I said to the editor, please put your name, because I'm never the one that goes forward. People like me don't exist. We never come out to the light. So since I was pushed into the spotlight, I thought, okay, I'm going to catch him and prove that he's a liar and he's deceitful and his office obfuscates. So I saw that there was this case by a gentleman that had reached up to the Supreme Court back in 2017 for the Attorney General not revealing that he had a document that was signed by him. Now, this document was signed by him and a corrupt FBI individual that nobody talks about, David Cuthbertson. Tori, how do you know David Cuthbertson? Well, David was in very frequent contact with these offshore servers and how they can coordinate to collect all your information, biometrics and everything. So he started from 2003 collecting people's information from private companies. And the way the FBI did this was putting out memorandums of understandings and agreements with private institutions and companies to collect your information and all your data. And in exchange, I don't know what was given to them. Did they buy it? Who knows? Well, the same thing happened with the attorney generals of your state. And this is why in my article, where I talked about Hurricane Electric, I mentioned, why is it that 12 different attorney generals from 12 different states had presidential transition team emails? Nobody asked that question. I have been talking about the peripherals for a very long time. Nobody asked those questions because you're not looking. And it's not your fault. You're busy working, right? And trying to make ends meet. So all of this was put out there. And I even mentioned where the servers were being housed. Now, because I had privy information, all I could do was reference it and then guide away to focus on something else rather than that fact itself, because I could be in trouble for revealing something that I shouldn't be revealing. I can get in trouble. So instead, I put it there. And then when an average citizen puts one and one together, finds a receipt of something else, then I could say, see, told you they were housing all that crap in Germany. And you're going to see where we're going with this. So what did I need to do to have documented evidence that this office is lying all the time? What did I have to do? Guys, I sent the most funny emails to his office saying, hey, I'd like this document that you signed that kind of talked about how you're giving all the private identifying informations of the citizens of North Dakota to the FBI. And in exchange, you have access to FBI and CIA databases. You get your access to the LEO database. Can you provide me that document? Almost within an hour, facial recognition, this. I put it all, stuff that was in the document that I already had, that I had sourced legally from the GSA, right? They responded and they were like, oh, well, we don't have such a document. He's never signed such a document. And this is the case that other citizen was making, that he knew that he had done this without advising the citizens of North Dakota. And that guy had taken him all the way up to the Supreme Court. So I was like, let me help him. He's got a Supreme Court date. Let me give him that document. But before I do it, I need to trap him. I need to hijack him. So how did I do this? I responded and said, damn, that was super quick. What do you have? Comey's agents that comb through 900,000 emails under your desk to find all these memorandums of understandings that you have and not find this? So then I said, can you double check? It may be titled like this, and it clearly states this. It was signed on this date by the Attorney General and this guy at the FBI. I gave him the whole document in verbiage, but I was being sarcastic, because the one thing about people in power, right? The one thing about people in power is that they hate someone that they believe is an ant to ridicule them or mock them, right? They have egos. And I know this very well because I had an ego that gave me blind spots. I mean, with the work I did, which I can't talk about, of course I'd have an ego. Of course. The stuff of course. But so I played on that. And guess what? Came back with another one saying, we don't have anything like this. And I was like, so I responded to that. Third time's the charm. I attached the document. I was like, oh, you couldn't find this document? You see right here? That's the signature page. Oh, I'm so sorry that we couldn't find this before. On the other hand, I also discovered that, he never took his classes to keep his attorney general's license. And then they had this whole cover up for that. This is how you get them. And this is why I say, anybody listening to anyone talking smack about me, calling me a criminal, that man, that limp-wristed, corrupt man who has so many ties with people in Brunei, Thailand, the Philippines. Yeah, we're going to go there because the FBI's got it all anyway. Doesn't matter. Philippines was kind of a new thing that I saw. And I was like, wait a minute, seen that name before. He and the whole power with his secret subpoenas came at me and found nothing but trolls are. Do you believe that? Do you think that he would have had a field day? He locked up his opponent, right? Who had millions and millions and millions of dollars, threw her in federal prison. She was in there for like 18 months. Her name was Susan Bala. The most atrocious story you'll ever hear. You should look it up. Susan Bala. She had online horse betting, right? Because he's got power. He got this woman with millions and millions of dollars thrown in jail. She was in federal prison, and then she was released because she was wrongfully tried. Listen to this. And not only that, now she sued the state for money, and she's still suing, and she was awarded money. And then that same attorney general came by to say, you should give me her money so I can distribute it. This is how corrupt they are. So this corrupt clown came after me and couldn't lock me up, and I did not have millions, but trolls are. See, this is how it works. They know what they can do, and they know what they can't do. Right? And they have control. Now they have no control. They have no power, and they are going to yield as much as they can and come hard as they can. Pelosi told you it's not about geography, because they're not even going to inaugurate whoever they're going to pick at the White House or in DC. They're going to go to some other corner, right? Maybe a Dem city, maybe another nation, and pick whoever they want. And there are going to be no votes because everyone's dragging their feet on this mail-in ballot things. There are going to be no results, but the media is going to tell you that there are results. See, the mainstream media is going to come out and tell you that he won. Everybody's going to come out. The whole world is going to come out and say, Trump lost, Biden won, Trump's a dictator. And for those of you that have jumped ship on simple patriots, like General Flynn, like others, you're going to be the first ones. Those of you that are still here, and what, there's like a couple thousand right now watching this feed. Okay, let me tell you something. More than half of you are going to jump ship because you're still not there. You're still falling into troll pockets. You're still being hijacked. You don't get it. That's the thing. They have hijacked you so hard, you can't even see straight. There are people that still think Lindsey Graham is a good guy. I've been saying he's not. Yet, brand names and tiaras and all these. He's great. Really? Well, they're telling you what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. They're telling you because they have the power. They have all your information, your emails. Remember, I told you that it's all about hijacking you. So again, listen to their plan. Remember this. We've done this before. I'm going to play the same 50 seconds again before I show you how they're stealing your own computer information right now, no matter how many antivirus firewalls you have. Take a listen to this again.
The fact is, whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we won't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm second in line to the presidency. And just last week, I had my regular continuation of government briefing. This might interest you because I say to them, this is never going to happen. God willing, it never will. But there is a process. It has nothing to do with it. The certain occupant of the White House doesn't feel like moving and has to be fumigated out of there because the presidency is the presidency. It's not geography or location. So much for him. I wouldn't spend so much time on it. That's it.
Yeah, because they've already got it planned out. You know why? Because they know your deepest fears. So the episode that I was telling you about yesterday was the 1st of January, 2019, where I told you about AI in China. And I told you how all of this is happening. What you can do is stand like those soldiers, the Iwo Jima statue, pushing up the flag, pushing up all patriots, the president, and standing tall. That's how we do this. That we unite together and do not let them separate us, because this civil war is going to be one of the most civilized wars you've ever seen. And we're going to need the military. And this is why the president is going, through so much, he threw so much to them, increased their salary, showed his dedication to them, because the people that are trying and have orchestrated this coup are actually military. which makes it even sadder, which makes it more horrific. So now I'm going to play a video for this person who watched the documentary Shadowgate and kind of analyzed it. You know, her name is Elizabeth. She's done a few. She's going to walk you through how you could check your own computer so they could show you. Because when I say what we gave you was massive, then you'll understand, obviously, why the obsessed attacks and why it's not the mainstream media attacking, and they've just put their, they're paid for trolls. And, whoever actually jumped on that ship doesn't seem to understand what a disservice they've done to the nation. And they should all be put on display. That's the way it should be. So let's see.
Taken out of my devices, my privacy is gone, and literally, and my body too. I know that sounds extreme, but and this.
Okay, so what she's showing on the screen is, the more frontline stream information. Who's your target? Is it a person? Is it a city, a state, a nation, a demographic of people? What kind of education? And then you select the personas. Personas are fictitious people that are manufactured and created, or real people that they've created into personas. Like Ali Alexander. His purpose to infiltrate the right movement was to gather blackmail on people that are making a difference. A lot of smart people realize that quite early. I mean, it could have been that I was earwigging a little bit, but this is the important factor. This is how they do it, and they crunch it through. What is the objective of the psyop? Drive them to kill themselves. What is the objective? Get them to lose their business. I'm just making stuff up, okay? But this is how it's done. It's actually software. It's AI that's doing this.
This is let's go back a little bit to give a little introduction.
So what she's showing is the purpose of IIA, interactive internet activities, are an essential part of the DoD's responsibility to provide information to the public, shape the security environment, and support military operations. This policy provides authority and guidance for those. So this is all documented stuff, but they debunked it, right? As a memorandum of understanding, by the way. There's no sound.
Supporting application.
Yeah, there is no sound.
Target. PSYOP. So let me go back to that template. And the company I'm looking into is called Dianology Corporation that hosts this application.
Yeah, this is something that you have to watch again and again. Like I said, pause, go back. Because me and Patrick gave so much, and Millie Weaver and her producer put it together so well. And yes, it's already started on August 20th when they revealed that they're siding with Joe Biden.
Okay. And I have released quite a few videos on YouTube today. I'm being censored a lot. My videos are getting many views, which is fine. So is my Twitter, that I'm aware of. I'm being informed of that. I'm being attacked quite heavily by energy weapons, especially my heart. But regardless of that, my entire body is.
This person is a veteran. Hold on. I want to take you to where she goes. There's no sound, obviously, because that gets removed. These are the people that we picked a fight with. These people. We've just exposed to you their plans, their counter plans. We've told you who the patriots are that fell on that sword protecting the president. This is a Canadian company that she's showing right now. This is a Canadian company, the same Canadian company that Robert Mueller hired to do the paper shredding during his investigation. These are the people that think they know best for you. These are the people that tell you everything you need to know. These are the people.
Technology, ShadowNet, information operations across the DoD, Department of Defense, share a common requirement to leverage the internet as a means to understand target audiences, engage them directly through internet-based influence operations.
This is what they're doing to you. This is how they hijack those lower rate, resonating frequencies. These operations, Black Lives Matter, Ferguson, Ukraine, all of that. Him lying and throwing cover for her. He threw cover for Yates. He said, "Oh, you did this." You guys saw it. We were here together live. It's banned everywhere. This video is banned everywhere. That should tell you everything you need to know. I will share this veteran's channel. She stopped and looked through it. You guys have to see. Those are the people that we picked a fight with. For all those out there not understanding,
There we go. So
these people are very
you can
powerful.
see the structure here. Dynology under, and so on and so forth. All right. Now, putting the video to the side.
Oh wait, let me
One
I'll share it
moment.
afterwards.
Let me get my dog on the bed.
That's her. Let me pause it so you guys can follow her. I don't think I followed her yet. This is an Army veteran in cybersec. She's targeted under illegal electronic surveillance. And I'm really happy that Patrick, Millie, Gavin, and I are also, for a few years now, I know since I pressed that send button in 2017, have had all eyes on us. So hence why we haven't been Arcanicide. Because it would be really hard for you to take us out when so many different eyes, the bad ones and the good ones, are on us. So that's what's important. And anyone that associates with us has been monitored too. So this is even better because I don't have to prove anything anymore, because as they try to cover up or discuss things, they fall into that trap, you see? It's kind of like if you call someone and you say those keywords and suddenly you're flagged, right? It's like that, but more hardcore.
All right. Now, so that's a great documentary. Definitely take a look at that. And so I looked at Dynology Corporation, and a lot of my videos on YouTube are based on cyber evidence and cyber analysis, utilizing cyber analysis tools to prove that I am hacked, because it's difficult to prove that you're being targeted and you're having energy weapons beaming through your body and that you're an experiment, because that sounds like schizophrenia, right? So I was like, how can I prove this? How can I prove that I'm not crazy, that I'm in a lot of pain, that I know that I'm going to hijack.
So she's going to show you how she finds
systems.
Let me just walk you through it. Let me just go through it. Okay, so she opens up
it's not
her CMD. She walks you through this. Check this out.
Or other DNS records. And let's go ahead and do that. So here we have NSL lookup, type. So asking for the type equals, we'll put all.
You could do this on your computer too.
.com. Now, to me, this output looks like it's directed just for me, right? So if that's not true, I'll do some other commands here, but run your own command on your Windows command prompt. Tell me what you get. So here we have, this is my server. I'm placed on server 192.168.1.1. I'm on an edge router, which according to, I believe, I made a post, a comment, or no, actually, Thousand Eyes stated that BGP hijacking is very critical to security, and one of the ways that you can tell that it's hijacked is that they get hijacked are via edge routers. I have an edge router called an Edge Mini Star. In this video, I will not do my IP config or IP addressing table, just to kind of on the safe side of not disclosing too much, but just diving into this. I had no idea what company ran the template or the software for where do they keep all this targeting information, because I know that I am, and I know my data is going somewhere. There has to be some type of software. So here you can see Azure websites. Azure is a virtual technology, Azure, like virtual machines, good stuff. So Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing service created by Microsoft for building, testing, and deploying managing application services through Microsoft managed data centers. It's great application, great software. But just defining that for you. So here you can see.
Okay, I just want to tell all of you before I continue this, because I want you to see it from another person, because no matter what we say, right, everyone listens to, trolls, falls in these pockets, and you have to pay attention. They're all personas. You could do this yourself, and I'm glad that I found this and put her on the spotlight. That way she's safe. She walks you through this, but I'm going to tie you back into a report that I put out in 2018 that no one picked up. Like I said, my website being stolen by Scott Adams of Red State and taken down, and keeping that data was for you guys not to see the Easter eggs. For you guys not to see the Easter eggs. It's important that you understand that. So I am trying to recover all of that, but you need to see what she shows you and see how long all this information has been out there. There's nothing you can do. I don't care what VPN you have. I don't care what you think you've protected yourself. You just have to understand you can't. That's the point of Shadowgate telling you this. You have no privacy.
Here we have an email. That could be their email, legitimate email. I don't know. And
hence how Gates is in the middle, right?
Primary name server. Name server 27. Here's serial. Internet address. And just to see, let's try and ping that. So pinging is like seeing if you can establish a connection, like a phone call.
And this is why websites.
Google.
Hold on.
And everyone can.
That's right. GoDaddy. This is why websites can be taken down and your rights stripped. Look how much control and power they have. When I told you we went up against the whole shadow government, you're going to see it's international. It's not just national. You're only seeing that little portion. That little portion. Okay? That little portion. And remember, Bill Gates, Microsoft.
Ping Google. But let's just take a look. So 107.180.12.15. I probably should be able to, because I'm able to reach the website. All right, so we have connection. Zero loss, so that's 100% connection. And now I will run an NSL. Let's do a tracer. So a tracer is very informative information. So tracer.
Okay, so she's walking you through this. You're going to understand how it's global when she gets to these parts. I wanted her to walk you through it so that you can see that the people that actually watch Shadowgate understand and know why this big whiplash came and what happened. You need to be paying attention to the details.
Yeah. How does it work? Measures the speed and route data takes to a destination server. It works by sending several test packets of data to a specified destination address and records each intermediate router or link passed by the data on its journey. And it's used to show several details about the path from the computer or device you're on to whatever destination you specify, referred to as trace route. And so this can tell you, if, how is your traffic, from your computer to the server. So this can tell you some compelling information on the path that it takes. So tracerdynology.com. That is my device. Look at that.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it right there. Hold on. Oh, let me go back to that screen there. Oh, she put it on there. Good. Darn it. Where is it? Okay, you see Talia Net? Now I'm going to just go to another screen. I'm going to continue this so you can see it, but I'm going to show you how I've been telling you this all along for those trolls and those people that don't seem to understand that this is way bigger than anything. I want you to see this on Big League Politics, published on the 16th of July, 2018 by me. And you're going to see where I'm talking about the FBI citizens log program. This is well, formerly known as LifeLog. This is a program that was created by someone else. Facebook was created by someone that worked for the government. Okay, McKibben. Shadowgate number 2 is going to have all of them. We've been talking. This was the first one. This was necessary to come out now, so that way people understand why we're going to have a blackout, who's playing, so you can see how the field goes. Because unfortunately, a lot of people out there are still not understanding. So this is why Shadowgate was so important. But I'm going to take you down to where I showed you level 3 communications, right? Which is owned by Soros. Another thing, why would attorney generals of 12 states have email addresses with ptt.gov? But the key one is here, Talia Company, AB, Germany. You paying attention? Germany. See, I mentioned it because you can pull that up, and I didn't give too much onto that of Germany, right? Because I could not speak on that because that's using privileged knowledge. Now, you'll say, well, you work for a private company and this is how you were able to access all their conversations. And yes, that's correct. That is very correct. And since it's a private company, I've committed no offense. But this is actually a company that is used and has been and houses the Congressional Knowledge Database. And the NSA uses that, and other people use that. So I am not able to speak to it because that is a matter of national security. But that's why I only mentioned it. Crossfire Hurricane, man, Hurricane Electric is the key server. It's a torrent server. This is why we know where everything is, all their emails, especially when you remove passport data or communications to the annex in Italy that was, synchronizing everything down there with Benghazi. All of this stuff is still out there. So, this is something that I've been talking about, Germany. And since other people spoke of the contracts where taxpayer dollars paid for it and a receipt was found, I can speak about it now. That's how it works, because I take my oath very seriously, and I would never, ever, ever jeopardize my nation, ever. So here we go back to what she finds.
So we'll let that keep running. Just to give you an idea here of what I mean by, well, look at that. That's not, let's just look into this. So, who is 12.50.29.33? So who is, I guess it goes all together. Who is dot 12.50.29.33?
So for those of you listening, she's just putting in all these commands. I'll have this uploaded on YouTube later.
Who is
And that's what they rely on, that you don't understand the tech. That's why they get away with stuff. .50.29.33. There we go. So who is this route? AT&T Services. Wait a minute. Do you see that Pegaso Hotels? Hold on. Let me just show you something. And this is for you diggers that love to dig, okay? Because then you're going to see something that has to do with why I went back to school. I'm just going to say it like that. This is going to tell you a little bit. Check out their website. Pretty weird, isn't it? So that's what you need to see. This is the Pegaso group. Man, can you see their underwear and the holes in it right now? I'm just saying, for those of you that like to dig, PEGASO Corporation. Pretty funny how a company that you can Google and find, heart of our business operation is Biscayne Boulevard, prestigious corporation that base their activities. Clients include New York Times, AAA, CBS News, Equitrack Corp, Vitus Healthcare, Republic Security Bank, Seawind Cruise Line, McDonald's, Cazoli's, and the National Association of Television Arts and Sciences. I'm just saying. So let's go back to her video where you guys can see it. And those of you listening on a podcast, she's mouthing and kind of mumbling to herself in regards to how she discovers what Dynology is really up to and how much control they actually have, and how your computer is compromised through Dynology. And you can find that it is too. So let's finish up her little segment here.
Inc. That's generally a private. Private address space and filtering. So what is private address space and filtering? That goes back to the edge router where you can fill in your own addressing. But if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's private addressing. Pegaso hotels. Okay. And .125.167.233. And this is on my AS7018. AT&T Services Inc. to AT&T WorldNet Services. Yes, that matches my hijacked peer-to-peer network. And all my data being sent out through a WorldNet. So that's globally. 12.123.6.18.
She's not at a hotel, by the way, for someone that said that. She's at her house.
No, oh, there we can do 12.122.155.169. Okay. It's more specific. I believe that's the host.
So,
Which,
so I'm going to stop her video right there. I'm going to show you her channel is Elizabeth Lepore, Elizabeth Lepore, Lepore on YouTube. I'm going to subscribe to her now. The key for me here through her video was to show you that it all leads back to a foreign government. And I'm going to take you back to that Hurricane Electric piece so you understand what was being stated in it. I don't think I can actually magnify more, but here in this article, hold on, you'll see it says, if you check government sites and do a trace route, all of them run through Linode. But Hurricane Electric LLC is the company of choice used by all countries who have access to FBI citizen log. Crossfire Hurricane, not a very elaborate name because Hurricane Electric allows for peer-to-peer sharing between global partners that share versions of citizen log. Remember, I told you it was really incredible how we see that we identified the bomber in Belgium through the FBI in the US and no one talked about it. Here we have level 3 communications who have a barrage of intelligence community contracts owned by George Soros. Here we have the emails. These are their emails. Look, Huma Abedin, Podesta, and attorney generals of 12 different states, right? Bruce Orr is the missing link. It was stated. So L3 Communications, Hurricane Electric with affiliates in Germany and Linode all share the same allocated block. So basically, Fusion GPS was being hosted on government servers, making it impossible to trace peer-to-peer transfers. This was the point. This is why I say reread drops, reread articles with fresh eyes now, because this is exactly what they've been doing. They have been hijacking all your data. You're not protected. Nothing you can do can protect you. Nothing. Because your information, every search, every like, every dislike, every heart, every hate, every trolly message you send, every video you watch is being compiled in a big ass database outside of the United States where the elite global, subterranean, fourth unelected branch, fifth column, you call him what you want him, can crunch your data and know exactly how to drive you. So, this is how they work. This is what they do. And this is how it happened. Now, I'm going to take you to another look, never made it. I kind of like made it different, but I did kind of point out about Ukraine to the people that were paying attention. Okay. Because that's the thing. We have to be careful how much information we put out there in general. But Yovanovitch, self-proclaimed gatekeeper for AAG Whitaker and AG Barr violating U.S. Ukraine treaty. She's the one that did not allow people to come to the United States to meet with our Justice Department and discuss the issues they had. Here it says, corrupt crony Marie Yovanovitch then told Prosecutor General that he is not allowed direct contact with the Attorney General. This is a breach. It is a breach of the 1999 treaty that the United States had with the Ukraine. Here's where she is she was claiming that she wasn't disallowing Ukrainian justice officials to access the U.S. counterparts because she felt she had feelings, right? That they were going to spread falsehoods about her. What do you mean you felt? Nobody gives a crap what you feel. I don't give a shit what you feel. You have no right to be the gatekeeper. Here she says it herself. I'm no longer in the Ukraine. She got fired. Fair enough, but describe the evolution of your understanding as to how Mr. Lutsenko was trying to hurt you in the U.S. I think, and again, I'm getting this partly from conversations with people who may or may not know what really happened, as well as what has been in the media, both in Ukraine and the United States. So I'll tell you what I think. I think. This is testimony. I think. She didn't allow prosecutors from another nation to reach our Justice Department to give them the facts. And on my website, I was the first one that posted, I think it was about 14 different lawsuits that included Biden, his son, other people, tracing right back, John Kerry, Tag, Romney. We got them all. And it's all there. See, this is the most corrupt thing ever. And they've been doing this for a while. They've been hiding everything, and they have been hijacking you. The purpose of this today, domestic news, was to show you the hijacks. How? Well, you can also listen to the news and see what our local news has to tell you and how they're telling you about, the Durham investigation. But listen to what Jim Jordan says with Maria Bartiromo, who you saw did not even get the scoop on the day the president was making a huge announcement. Here we go.
Profile names in the Republican Party making the case for President Trump as the pro-America candidate. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan spoke last night, recounting an emotional time when President Trump comforted his family after his nephew's death. Jordan also slammed Democrats, arguing that they support violent protesters. Take a listen.
Look at what's happening in American cities. Cities all run by Democrats. Crime, violence, and mob rule. Democrats won't let you go to work, but they'll let you riot. Democrats won't let you go to school, but they'll let you go loot. President Trump has fought against each of their crazy ideas. They tried the Russia hoax, the Mueller investigation, and the fake impeachment. But in spite of this unbelievable opposition, this president has done what he said he would do. Taxes cut, regulations reduced, economy growing, lowest unemployment in 50 years, out of the Iran deal, embassy in Jerusalem, hostages home from North Korea, a new USMCA agreement, and of course, he's building the wall and rebuilding our economy as we speak.
Joining me right now is Ohio Congressman, House Judiciary Committee and House Oversight and Reform Committee member Jim Jordan. And Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you. Congratulations on the speech last night.
Thank you, Maria. Good to be with you this morning.
So tell me what you think is resonating most, or what did resonate. You made a good point, justification of basically showing what the Republicans are doing in terms of law and order, in terms of ensuring that the economy comes back, versus what you're seeing on the other side. Is that what your goal was?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think really what came through last night, the president said this Sunday night on your network. He talked about the amazing potential of the American people. And I think that was the theme last night. I mean, you think about Nikki Haley's story. You think about Senator Scott's story, his humble beginnings, now a United States Senator. You think about Herschel Walker's life. You think about those frontline healthcare workers, frontline first responders that the president talked to there at the White House, the hostages he met with, the amazing potential of the American people, and just the positive feel we got last night. And I meant what I said in my speech, that the Republican Party is the pro-America party. The institutions, the values, the principles that make our country great, that's what we need to defend. This president is doing that. That's why I think he's going to get reelected.
At the same time, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, called the president as well as the Republicans in Congress yesterday domestic enemies, enemies of the state. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, she has said a number of things that just make no sense, that are just flat out wrong. This president is, I think he's that rare individual who comes to this town and actually does what he told the American people he was going to do. That's what the American people so appreciate about him. And I had that list of things we talked about, but you think about this, just take one example, take putting the embassy in Jerusalem. For as long as I can remember, every single presidential candidate in either party, in both parties, said, if you elect me, I will put the embassy in Jerusalem. Then they get elected and they come up with a million reasons. The swamp gives them tons of reasons why they can't do it. This president did it. And the response, and it worked out fine. But the Speaker of the House criticizes the president for doing what he told the American people. That's how frustrated, that's how, the Democrats have been out to get this president, as you know, Maria, since before he was even elected, with the whole Trump-Russia investigation. So that's nothing new from her. It is so wrong. And I think the American people see through it. And like I said, I think they're going to elect President Trump as the next president.
Yeah, no, you went through it first, the Russia collusion hoax, and then, the Mueller investigation, the impeachment. You called it the fake impeachment. You're right. They have been out to get him and take him down from day one. Now there's a Postal Service controversy, Congressman. Walk us through this. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy defending his management of the U.S. Postal Service to the House yesterday.
Hold on. Like, I watched some of it and I scrolled through the whole testimony of the postmaster. It was exactly the same thing like Attorney General Barr. They should have just put a cutout. All they wanted was a punching bag. That's all they wanted.
These concerns that his cost-cutting measures are jeopardizing the agency's ability to serve Americans going into a presidential election. What's at stake here?
Well, what the Democrats are really trying to do, and this is not me saying this, is the Wall Street Journal. This is the latest conspiracy theory from the Democrats. But there's $14 billion cash on hand. They got a $10 billion line of credit. What he's doing on collection boxes and sorting machines is nothing new. In fact, the Obama-Biden administration between 2011 and 2016 removed 12,000 collection boxes around the country. So he's doing nothing new. But the Democrats want to create chaos and confusion because they want to count ballots after Election Day. That's what this is about. You saw what happened in New York. One congressional primary. Actually, the chairwoman of the committee, the sponsor of the Democrats' bill, Carolyn Maloney, her election was June 23rd. She wasn't declared the winner until 6 weeks later. In the New Jersey primaries, it took 4 weeks to count the ballots after the primary election date. And frankly, look, go back to the Iowa Democrat caucuses. I don't even know. I don't know if we still know who won the Democrat caucus for the presidential race. So the Democrats want this chaos and confusion because I believe, and I'm convinced, they know President Trump is going to win on Election Day, but they want to keep counting ballots after Election Day. So that's what this is really about. They want to send out as many live ballots, mail out as many live ballots as they can around this country, and then be counting after the election night, after election night's over. So that's what this is about. We need to call it for what it is. And but they're attacking the post office for those reasons, and that's what's scary to me. That's why they're getting so fired up. But in spite of all that, the president's going to win. I can just feel. You can see it in Ohio. He won big in Ohio, and I think it's going to be even bigger this time.
So you don't buy the polls then, because in the polls he's been lagging.
You can feel it in our state. You see American flags and Trump signs all over the place. I was in Youngstown, not in our district.
Yeah, you have them in East Cleveland, where the Black Lives Matter is a big movement. You see it there. You see it everywhere. He's right. Trump is going to win hard. She doesn't look happy about it, though.
But across the state, Youngstown, huge crowd at the Youngstown Republican event. It used to be you couldn't find Republicans in the Youngstown area. 350 people at this Republican event. You feel the energy building. I think last night was a great kickoff to our convention. I feel that in Ohio. I feel very good about our state. There's other key states where the president's out and about. While Joe Biden won't leave his home, the president was in Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Carolina just in the last few days. So he's out and about talking to the American people that he cares so much about.
So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, look, most people do not want a socialist agenda. Most people do not want to see $4 trillion in tax increases. So you've got, the right idea in terms of policy. But what are you going to do to stop cheating if there is cheating in terms of mail-in voting? What about big tech? Congressional lawmakers investigating anti-Republican speech, anti-conservative bias at big tech turning to Amazon as well, Congressman. So what about the potential for cheating, whether it's big tech or whether it's mail-in voting? What are you going to do?
Well, you draw attention to it. That's all we can do at this point. You draw attention to it. That's what we did yesterday in this hearing on the Postal Service. You draw attention to it every single time big tech is censoring conservatives. Every single time you draw attention to it so the American people understand what's going on. But we also have to look at legislative solutions. Unfortunately, we can't do that with Jerry Nadler running the Judiciary Committee. We need to win back the House in order to actually accomplish some of those things. But you draw attention to every single time. When they censor the president, but Twitter also, at the same time, Twitter will allow a statement from the leader of Iran where he actually threatens the safety of American citizens. I mean, that's how ridiculous it has gotten. So you call attention to it every single time so the American people understand.
All right, Congressman, we'll be watching, of course. Very important stuff here. Congressman Jim Jordan, it's great to see you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You didn't jump on the stuff that I was telling you about the polls. Now we're going to listen to Devin Nunes and MSDNC, remember, about John Brennan. And rule number one is when you work for the CIA, the first thing you learn is how to lie. And anyone that's been in any clandestine capacity knows that's the sucky thing that sucks at your soul. I don't think anyone understands just how it takes its toll on your soul to not be able to tell people what you do for a living at all, and how you can't just say anything really. But here's where you're going to see what Devin Nunes has to tell you. Just listen to him. He pretty much puts it out.
He's the author of the book Countdown to Socialism. We welcome back Republican Devin Nunes. Great to see you, Devin Nunes. Congressman, what do you think? Is Brennan clear, or could he still be in trouble?
Well, he's hardly in the clear, and the good thing is that you don't see Durham, who's a professional prosecutor. We have real grown-ups now that are running this investigation. So I don't think Brennan's in the clear at all. With that said, we need to know what Brennan knew and when he knew it. And the key question is he's made some pretty clear comments that he knew about Russians that were talking to the Trump people. Well, it appears now that we've pulled all of this back and all the evidence has been laid on the table. The only Trump people that we know that were talking to the Russians were Carter Page, who he wasn't actually talking to Russians. He took a trip to Moscow.
And Carter Page was CIA.
And when we all know how that went, Carter Page was framed. And that was produced by the Democratic National Committee, that information. So did Brennan have this information? If so, who gave it to him? Did the Democrat National Committee give it to him? Did the Hillary Clinton campaign give it to him? But clearly he should have known that this would not have been real intelligence that should have been used to target a political campaign. And I think that's
so the issue
from our vantage point, Republicans, I mean, that's what we want to know from him.
The issue is whether John Brennan misled House Intelligence and other committees in Congress, right? Is that it?
Well, that would be one of many issues. I mean, obviously, if he was peddling this information, What right and under what authority would Brennan, who is supposed to be, the top of the CIA, the top of our intelligence services, they have tried and true methods to actually look and gather intelligence that go through many checks and triple checks, all the way through, so that by the time you get something, it's believable, So he would have to know if he's peddling this is just pure nonsense, and it's not something that a CIA director should be engaged in.
Let's move on to this. The problem for Brennan, James Comey, and Andrew McCabe and the Obama administration is this. Why did the FBI aggressively lobby and push the CIA to include the discredited, debunked opposition anti-Trump research, that being the Steele dossier, to include it in the intelligence community assessment, the powerful assessment about national security? This is about Russian meddling in the election. Did they do it to give that Steele dossier more gravitas, more stature, more credibility, even though they knew it was flawed, even though the CIA told the FBI it was internet rumor, even though Steele's own sources said it's baseless gossip? Did they do that, stick it in the ICA in order to get more wiretaps on FISA wiretaps on the Trump team?
Well, I think what they did, I think you're right over the target. So what we believe today is the reason that was put in.
Okay, so I want to make something clear. The FISA warrants to put on targets were done to cover up that they were already listening in through their crimes, their treason, their usurpation, their enslavement of everybody. They listened to everybody. They wanted to cover up those crimes, right? And in July, I told you, we're going to see Snowden coming in. Then when Millie dropped the trailer, I said, watch, cue music, because they need mitigation. This is it. The Russia dossier was used rather than using raw SIGINT, right? Which was illegally obtained and used. The dossier was used to cover up those crimes. Okay. It was used to cover up those crimes. And in order to cover up those crimes, they had to have actual FISA warrants and say, because we had these warrants, this is why we were spying. But that doesn't justify going back to 2014. And it doesn't justify, I don't know if you guys can hear me smiling, the fact that we knew that they were monitoring from 2014, because this is all documented in Judge Collier's comments. When she tried to save her ass in 2017, writing this scathing memorandum of opinion. Oh my gosh. And I told them and I spanked them. And then they said it was, algorithm errors, and they were fixing it. And then I good faith extended it. And then they said they still had problems. And then they were like, there might be a human factor. There might be this. This is how they kept renewing the FISA warrants, because Judge Collier let it happen. That's the thing. Hence why she's gone now.
To this intelligence community assessment, just so your viewers understand, I call that Obama's dossier. Obama ordered that after Donald Trump won the election in 2016. And within weeks, they had decided, they put out a phony report, all our intelligence agencies did, that said that the Russians were trying to help Trump. In reality, what do we find out? The Russians were doing what they always try to do, which is sow discord. And in fact, Russia, like most other countries, like anybody, nobody ever thought that Donald Trump had a shot to win. So the fact that dossier got put into the intelligence community assessment, knowing what they knew, that this was Democratic paid garbage, and they hid that from Congress, it was clear what they were trying to do. They were playing catch up on an October surprise that went wrong when they found out Carter Page wasn't talking to any Russians. They were way out over their skis, and so they were trying to play catch up. And ultimately, as we all know, this is the same time, even though General Flynn had been totally exonerated by the FBI agents investigating him, they kept that open. And so the more this goes on, I think it's pretty clear that Brennan and Obama, they were all involved. The key is who gave the order? Who gave the order to participate in this corruption? So we already have one lawyer who's paid the price. Hopefully there'll be more.
One lawyer, a lower level lawyer that used an unknowing asset. So Carter Page is CIA. He's not dumb. Carter Page is CIA. He knew they used him. He kept his mouth shut, and that's what's up. So, so I can close this off. I think we need to go into a bit of world politics too. I just want to take a quick break. So we're going to listen to some Mike and the Mechanics.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Take the children and yourself and hide out in the cellar. But now the fighting will be closer. Don't believe the church and state and everything they tell you. Believe in me, I'm with thy command. Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? There's a gun and ammunition just inside the doorway. Use it only in emergencies. Better you should pray to God, Father and Spirit, protect you and guide you from up here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Swear allegiance to the flag, whatever flag they offer. Never hint at how you really feel. Teach your children quietly, but one day sons and daughters will rise up and fight while we stood still. Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me running? Can you hear me calling you? Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys, for your patience. I just wanted to go get a refill on my coffee and get things together. So just to round this up, I know I probably should do 3 hours, but I wanted to start with the conflicts that I've been talking about for over 2 years in the Eastern Mediterranean, because things are really heating up. Last night I stayed up a little bit just to see what was going on in Lebanon, what to see is going on in Greece. I tweeted out a few things. A lot of this information has not been transliterated or interpreted in English. So I think I'm just going to play a few clips so you guys can see where things are, rather than just take my word for it. Because, unfortunately, people like validation from other sources more, what the tiaras and crowns. And that's unfortunate because we've been conditioned to so. Actually, I had that conversation with my child because she, yesterday, a friend of ours bought us dinner and said, just you two go out. And we had so much fun. But we were talking and she says, like, how do we fix this? I don't understand how, people are in power like this and no one's doing anything when there are so many more people than there are politicians. And that's true. We are many and they are few. So how does this get rectified is the question. And a great example, see, Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply enough, you don't understand it. So here's the simplest explanation. Let's pretend the earth was empty and there were 100 people. Out of those 100 people, a few people will rise up as leaders because one, they do so with good intentions, and two, may thrive off of power. Maybe they look stronger, bigger, look like better hunters, whatever the case may be. And then from that first civilization, village, whatever that is created, there are maybe 2 or 3 people that stand up and they become kings or queens and they rule. And the rest become subjects because they know better. And then they die off and their kids are there. And well, because the kids have been running this business or are related to them, or we're fighting side by side with them, or, they expanded our kingdom to this or whatever. Suddenly you have a bloodline. Suddenly you have your leaders. Suddenly you have your tiaras, crowns, and sashes. And yet, even though there may be better leaders with better intentions and not that of power, right? Of power. Right? Not that aren't thriving on power, because I've tasted that myself. And, sometimes my little, my little black hat pops out where it's like, ooh, because you get this power. So it's all about power. And people submit to that because they feel intimidated. The only way that this can be fixed, when my child told me this, how can this even be fixed? I mean, I don't get it. It's like you're fighting a war that can't be won. And this is coming from a 14-year-old child. That's it. When you think that the war cannot be won, they already won. You need to understand, if you take a step back on the moon, you can see the leaders per se and the orchestrators of all of this. They own printers to print out this fiat currency. They yield power because you have given power to that currency. You have given power to them. Yet again, if you stand back and look, what you see is that you are greater in numbers than they are. The illusion that you lost, the illusion that they're more powerful than you, that illusion is how they win. I've said it's all an illusion. Assange, when he was removed from the embassy, he held a book, and that book was telling you about an illusion. It is all an illusion. So the media is there to fuel that fear and that push, that submission. They want you divided. What you need to look at is who's dividing you. Because I could have dropped the list 2 years ago and said, these people at Fox are on payroll. These few people at OAN are on payroll. These people are owned by this. These CNN, this NBC, this pundit, this. But I didn't. Why? Because there's no point in that. If they're supposed to be beefing the base to attract you, right? This is why I said I love Cernovich. And I said that, and all of you gave me flack, and that's okay. Because he's just like Roger Stone. They do not care about influence and whatever. They stick to their center. Bannon the same. He sticks to his center. Guy is so rich. You really think he's going to go out for, whatever. You need to find your center. You need to find that center, that spark. You need to be that spark. Because you united together, this is how we go up against them. This is how you unite against them. This is how they lose, when you are united. So pay attention to all these psyops. You want to hear psyop? Who has an X next to their Twitter account because they were told to do so? Who has a little square next to their Twitter name because they were told to do so? You don't see it? You've been hijacked. Those are simple IIAs. We are supposed to stick together. We are supposed to be united. And this is a global movement. Global. United, we stand. Divided, we fall. Hear, hear. And this is how you fix it. You are so massive in numbers. Think, if all of those that listen to the Tory Says show turn up to Congress, we're at least 20 times larger per se, right? Because I'm not on the radio anymore. So I've got about 500,000 people not listening to me there. So yeah, so we're about 20 times larger than they are. So if all of us walked in there and said, get out of the seat, I'm taking over, could they do something? Could they arrest all of us for saying, get out? We don't want you here. I'm just saying, can they? They can't. So where we go one, we go all is about unity. It's about supporting each other, and it's about having each other's back. That you would walk through fire and burn at a stake rather than see your nation fall. And your nation is your freedom. You can choose that most ridiculous quality humans have that I hate, which is, and hate is a strong word. I want to say loathe. I want to say loathe, which is self-preservation. Everyone should be uniting. When you see people sowing division in any movement, I mean, look at the Q movement. Suddenly people are experts. They know what's up. I mean, but you all know months ago, I've been dropping this for a while. Hey, maybe we kind of let people hijack things, you know. Maybe people are going to be disappointed when, no. But others are experts. And they're dividing that too. Then we have people telling you, put this square, put this X, put this circle. They've been hijacking you and you haven't realized it. Put an X next to your name to show this. Put your stars. Well, you know, I don't mind it. Some IIAs are supposed to be good, but I'm of the fact, no IIAs. None. We should be allowed to be free because the world would be a better place if we stuck to the foundations of the nation, which is exactly what the president is doing. You can't see you're being hijacked. I mean, just look at your Twitter feed, who you follow. Look at how many of them have that. And you know what? It's so funny that Shadowgate comes out and Q comes out, you know, in the ether, and they're like, rah. And it's like, why are you scared? Because it's a global army. Man, when all the people decide to disown anyone that goes against is done. It's done. Because united, we stand. Divided, we fall. And that's the thing. Unity for General Flynn. See, that has actually been used as an IIA. It is a PSYOP. We love General Flynn. He stands for the Americans that are forgotten, that aren't spoken. That's the thing. You need to look at that. Look at the people that have been just giving you unfettered truth. No ifs, ands, or buts. But I at least have 3 years, at least 3 years of documented information. See, they're using the court of public opinion to change the narrative, because that's how they're going to declare that they won the elections. So look at the people using the court of public opinion. Everything that I've told you in the past has been valid, except for the Andrew Yang. But as you know, I mean, could be because I didn't see it as a pandemic in that sense of them digitizing everything, because that's what he was pushing. Remember, giving people $1,000 a month and everything being moved online. It could be, but you know, you never know. You never know, because he was actually, you know, you have to be looking at it objectively. You have to see how you've been I just want you to look at the people you follow on Twitter and look how many of them have been victims of psyops, either that be good or bad. So this is how you can see it. Now, also psyop is that they're not telling you what's going on in Europe, which is pretty exciting. You know, like I've said, it's a pretty massive push. Remember, I was the first one that told you that whatever they were talking about ammonium nitrate was bullshit. And it wasn't cow dung or horse dung, but it had to do with lithium and other things and how ships disappeared. I mean, the earth disappeared and the ships from Ukraine disappeared. I told you, but you know, the media caught up, 24, 48 hours later? I mean, that's why they had to get rid of my stuff, because damn, this girl is so on point. We can't. Yep, I know I said it first. And it's not about being first. It's about showing you truth and showing you how that is the one that is. Let's move on to Beirut. Now, I've talked about USAID, and I had really good articles on Tori Says, which I know a lot of people have been working really, really hard to help me recover, because apparently some people said that there was a hack, which is great. Because then the FBI cyber can get involved too. Because, you know, I'm going to push this. I want to find out who took my stuff, who stole my stuff, who stole my emails, who stole my information. I mean, I'm being patient, and I've reached out to the person that supposedly had all this information, and, you know, they're playing dumb. So, you know, I have to go to FBI cyber and say, the site was hacked. This information is being stolen from me and not given to me, and no one is doing anything. So, you know, this is real stuff. You know, while all of you sit there, you have no idea what this documentary that we put out does to us. Nobody does. And you know, people don't see it. People do not see it. And I guess maybe this is why Red State got so much money for new billboard ads. See? Well, but what if, think about it this way, what if I knew that they were going to hijack it? What if I knew that they were going to hijack it? So what if I knew they were going to hijack it to take it? Nobody question that?
So we were able to see the port, the destruction. We were able to tour the port with Director Beasley, talked about the logistics, about how to get food to the suffering people of Lebanon here into the country. But it's here at the final bit, we're actually feeding people, which is so critical, because at the end of the day, it's the people who are suffering. So we empathize, we're sympathetic to the suffering of the people. We're so proud of the work WFP is doing in helping alleviate human suffering.
Thank you so much. Come and receive healthcare services and
here,
the area is around 1.8 kilometers from the heart of the blast. We have invited them, and also the center have helped us with a list of 60 kilograms of main food staples that is needed.
helping the people, everybody around to do the PV. And in Armenia. In Lebanon, we've been here since 1946.
Oh no, we're honored. We're in the United States of America. We're here with him. Okay,
thank you. We provide the food, they provide the money.
It's a good team.
So, Your Excellencies, if you can see here, this is a waiting area. And that's the courtyard. The equipment are working. We just don't have some sort of structural damages. We don't care.
So I wanted you to pay attention how USAID is there, World Food Program is there, Australia's there. They're all there. They're all giving food. They have a few boxes for a whole city. This is really important. This is a reality act. Look.
The weather is nice, and we started to do the work. That's what we are called to do. So we're gonna go from this side.
Yeah, 1 more minute.
1 more minute. All right.
This distribution, we use the center here, and our partner, who's also supporting all WFP activities here.
Everyone's taking pictures, pulling out canned food and rice. Look at us. We're doing so much good, so much good. So I'm really hoping that in USA, there's a couple of Tories there paying attention to what's really going on, because this is the charade that you're seeing. This is a charade of, look at us, we're doing great. Kind of like the way Newsom is setting his state on fire to ask for money because he's broke. See, it looks pretty funny, right? Can you see it? That's your tax dollars right there, right? That's your tax dollars being, given to Lebanon, which is fine because they were broke. Remember, we talked about it, how they had no money and how they were broke and how nobody was giving them loans and how they were in default the day before the imploding Donkey Kong dropped. I've said this, and this is where you're seeing it all. It's a land grab. You've got Macron, Mr. Co-Prince, because he's actually royalty, the geriatric lover that married his elementary school teacher, freaking going down there. And they themselves told you with their own mouth, well, it's a lot easier to take over Lebanon than it is Algeria. It's a lot easier now. Yeah, because they're dead broke. No one's giving them loans and they just got screwed. So yeah, of course it is, Macron. French to the rescue. We'll talk more about the French to the rescue because you can see the Trojan French horse. Again, he's a prince, a co-prince. Look it up. Now here we have another corrupt organization, the United Human Rights Council, right? Wait, here. Listen.
I hope I have sabato. Domani andiamo a Tripoli. The blast is hopefully a one-off, devastating blow that has killed, maimed, and destroyed. But of course, the consequences can be addressed through humanitarian and reconstruction money and resources and interventions. But the blast is also the symptom of a broader crisis of the country, and we know that. That crisis is political, so has to be solved through political discussion. This is far beyond what my organization or my organization's mandate. But the blast also calls, shows that this country needs longer-term interventions to address rising poverty, to address functioning public services, to address security, and so forth. Now, all of this is a bigger package than the humanitarian package, and this package needs to be addressed by the international community. We have made this capacity.
Remember, they put China on there. I'm sorry. Oh gosh. Okay. They put China on their boards. They put people that use machetes and slaughter villages on their boards. Listen to them. And obviously, World Food Program is a UN organization too. I just want to point it out.
Capacity available to the aid community to respond to the consequences of this blast. Not only for refugees, who of course are our main target here in the country, but also for Lebanese nationals that have been impacted. Without forgetting, of course, that this country has hosted refugees for more than 7 decades. The Palestinians, the Iraqis, now the Syrians. So I think it is important also.
Yeah, because what? Hillary Clinton wanted to destroy it. Right? They all wanted to destroy it. Man, those communications at the annex in Italy are going to be so hot soon. So hot.
On the part of the refugee organization to send a signal that the time has come to also show the Lebanese when they are in their hour of need that the international community responds, including through UNHCR. We are aware of a relatively small number of refugees that have tested positive, between 250 and 300. So it's a relatively small number if you think that refugees here are hundreds of thousands, so it's a small number. I'm talking about Lebanon. Worldwide also the figures are in the tens of thousands. There are 26 million refugees around the world and almost 80 million refugees and displaced. So the figures are small. This is in part due to relatively limited testing. And in some situations, we've been able to prevent the spread, especially when refugees are very concentrated in Asia and in Africa. So in a way, you know, the health impact on refugees of COVID has been very much the same as the local population in the countries where they find themselves. Where we are worried, and we're worried in Lebanon as well, is the economic impact. Because as we know, the lockdowns have created a lot of new poverty among the most.
Wait a minute. This is coming from them, the people that abandoned Lebanon. And the day before the implosion, the foreign minister resigned. The IMF said, oh, we either own your country, you're in default, or tough. And they've been begging for help. And they were renting boats to be able to have power for their nation, begging, putting them at the mercy, where they would be at the mercy of who? Maybe mercenaries, maybe Al-Qaeda, maybe Turkey, maybe the Muslim, all strangling Lebanon. And suddenly this heavenly occurrence happens where a Donkey Kong goes off and we see lithium burning like nobody's business. Everybody ate their words. Remember how quick everyone was like, ammonium, and we're looking into our warehouses. It was poop stored there, and nah. And only Tory says was there saying, yeah, sure. Because within 10 minutes, we had the boats at the place. The land is missing. It was an implosion, and it was definitely not horse dung. And we are the news. We should handle it with care because we just debunked global news that were viral for 24 hours. All your tiaras and sashes were talking about it. And we were saying facts. We were discussing truth. And yet, people still don't see.
Most vulnerable.
And you can see it through him. He cares. No, you didn't. You're the one that helped destroy that nation that was trying to recover itself after the evil, globalist, subterranean, fourth unelected global government, fifth column, whatever you want to call it, came there and pushed them down. It's disgusting.
In society. And inevitably, everywhere, refugees, poor migrants, displaced people are among the poorer people in society. And very often, the type of jobs that they do are the first one to disappear in a lockdown situation. So this is what worries us most at the moment in terms of pandemic impact on forced displacement.
So now the pandemic, so their economy is strangulated because of this pandemic. They've been locked down. They have no money, yet we bullied them to own their nation like we did to others. Stop. See, this is where the real news lies. In the things that they tell you. I've told you this before. They will tell you exactly who they are if you're listening. And if you're listening, you know exactly who I am. And this is why they hacked my site. But I digress. So here's pretty interesting how outside of the news, right? No one's talking about it. The U.S. and Greece had joint air drills, naval drills together. But obviously, the news is just going to tell you that they've had their own naval drills. Wait, this is getting even much more fun because this is where the pop. Remember how I told you Russia's going to come in from the north? Remember how I told you that? That was back in 2018. Russia's been sitting in TARDIS, eating freaking popcorn, watching all this crap play out. In the meantime, they're protecting Syrians by working because they have a mutual defense agreement together, just like we just signed a new one with Greece. So they have a mutual defense agreement together. They have one of the biggest naval bases they have sitting right there in the middle of all this crap. You know, Turkey has put out their S-400s to counter Egyptian and Greek airplanes if that be needed. Now you're going to see how the script flips. This is where it's going to get interesting, and you're going to see how this pans out. So we've got Russia, the south of Turkey, right, by Syria. And now guess what they announced today? Wait, you're going to be like, damn. And it's like, yep, time traveling.
Greece have announced conducting rival naval exercises off the Greek island of Crete. The announcement comes amid rising tensions between the two countries over claims to gas and oil in the eastern Mediterranean. Greece announced its drills after Turkey extended the exploration mission of its Oruk Reis survey ship in disputed waters. Turkey has sent out an official warning to other vessels to avoid the area. President Tayyip Erdogan warned Athens, who throw Greece in front of Turkey, will not support it.
Starting from now, the only one who will be responsible for any negativity in the region will be Greece, and the only one that will be harmed from it will be themselves as well. I think our Greek neighbors will benefit from knowing the fact, just as we do, that the ones who throw Greece in front of Turkish Navy will not stand behind them.
So, I was up and I was like, what is, I was up before he made all these announcements, up late last night, paying attention to what was going on in Turkey, what was going on in Lebanon. Man, this stuff is going to hit the fan. So in Libya, oh my gosh, like this is insane. This guy literally declared war. He was like, nobody's going to tell us what's our territory, anything. We make our own rules. We say whatever we want. And we don't care if the rest of the world says it's not yours. We're going to say it's ours and we're going to take it. And it's like, so just so you know, Turkey was actually brought into NATO so they can buffer that relationship between Europe and Greece and Turkey. Remember, I told you they have Turkey in a box. I love our president just sitting there. Yeah, you, that's what's up. And it's like, damn. Remember, we talked about how Turkey, Cyprus, and Israel got together, and now Egypt has come into that scope. And now, and the UN is sitting there scathing, still pushing, and they're bringing their Trojan. Macron, watch what's happening. Look at how they flipped the script, and Russia is coming into it, and Putin is just sitting there just saying, damn it, why did they go there? Look at this. How everything just goes according like I told you it would back in 2018.
Meanwhile, Turkish Foreign Ministry says German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas will visit both the countries on Wednesday to discuss the Mediterranean issues.
They're going to discuss the Mediterranean issues that they've been discussing and saying, hey, Turkey, don't do that. That's so bad. Do you need a good spanking? That's how they've been talking to Turkey because they can't do anything. They have everything, under that. Now, as Turkey is pushing this, listen to their before we go there, let's go to the Libyan ceasefire. Remember how they said that there was a ceasefire? Remember how I've told you that Tripoli is the only supposedly recognized government in Libya, which is the size of Rhode Island, and the rest of Libya is under General Haftar. General Haftar is recognized by Greece, Cyprus, Italy, Egypt, the US, the UAE. Oh, by the way, the UAE just jumped into this, and they have sent ships and weapons into the Eastern Mediterranean to protect Greece. I want you guys to pay attention. This Middle East peace deal, man, you need to be looking to see what's up. So here we go. Let's take a listen to what they say about the Libyan ceasefire. Then we're going to jump on to the Turkish spokesperson. And you're going to be like, okay, that's just way too much.
Lawrence, who is Professor of Political Science at the American University in Washington, D.C. Good to speak to you again. And I was asking you whether you thought the situation in Libya would be a lasting ceasefire.
Of course, it remains to be seen. This is a very important first step forward. I think one of the most important elements is that the international players have come together, and in particular, Egypt and Turkey, and seem to have come to some sort of agreement over who controls which forces and.
Okay, stop. Why? Okay, listen to what he's saying. This is doublespeak. This is how they talk to people that don't know. By the way, I have an incomplete MBA at American University. Don't knock, dude. But anyway, it's actually American Military University. So this guy is telling you that Egypt has been working with Turkey. Keep in mind, Egypt has been working with Turkey on a ceasefire in Libya. Okay, so first question is going to be like, what the heck does Turkey have to do with Libya? Redirecting your attention to the fact that Libya, the city of Tripoli, has no military, It's the size maybe of Rhode Island, even smaller. The UN has dedicated that's the GNA center. That's the recognized government of Libya, according to the UN. And because they have no military, they have given them Turkey and Qatar to be foster military. This is where it all sparked. So the UN did this, and now Turkey has unfettered access to walk through people's international waters and say, oh, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, because they're supposed to be helping Libya. So just so you see where they sit. And remember, Egypt, Israel, Greece, Cyprus, Italy, the US are all siding together. So is the UAE against the maritime grab that's happening. Okay? So this is doublespeak, but still, listen to what he tells you, because again, if you've been paying attention, everyone tells you who they are.
Over what area? And this is a very positive development. It all grows out of the Berlin negotiations last January and the UN Security Council resolutions that resulted. And a number of analysts have been lamenting that this seems to be a foreign ceasefire, not a Libyan ceasefire. But if the foreign backers of the Eastern armies are saying you must make a ceasefire, and if the head of the parliament that gives them that mandate says you must do a ceasefire, then we're much closer to a lasting ceasefire than we have been in many months.
And we haven't yet heard anything from Khalifa Haftar himself. Can we read anything into that?
First of all, Haftar is a badass.
Well, the fact that he hasn't said no is a positive sign. And the fact
that he hasn't said no. Remember when I drew your attention to the fact that Greece, Italy, Israel, and Egypt kicked out the ambassador of Libya, which was joined to what? The UN-backed Tripoli recognized government. And once they kicked them out, who did they invite? That's right, General Haftar, which they recognize as the true leader of the Libyan people.
The fact that he's been run by the negotiation, and they're going straight to the head of the parliament rather than to him, is very important, because that sort of upsets the French strategy, which has been to reify Haftar as sort of the head of the Eastern forces. But it also says that the political process is what matters, and the political forces on each side are the ones that need to make a peace deal on a political basis rather than a military deal. So what Haftar does very much matters, but the fact that he's been sidelined by the parliament that works with him and by Egypt is very significant.
Okay, good to speak to you, Professor
Did you
William.
see that psyop? Because they want Haftar to think that people are backstabbing him. I think he's smarter. See, this is the shadow gate. This is the shadow government operation. Do you see that? This is what they do. Now, as Libya is on this, right? Let me put the report by Turkish television. The same Turkish television that said, please donate to, Ilhan Omar. Well, no, it was Turkish government press that wrote an article asking Turkish people to donate to Ilhan Omar's campaign. But and there's an article on that on Lumerd. Take a listen to what they found. Just look at how everything I've been telling you is coming freaking full circle right now.
Let's bring in Kadir Ustun, who is the executive director of the SETA Foundation here in Washington, D.C. Kadir, really great to have you with us. How big of a game changer is this for Turkey?
This is very significant for Turkey's energy needs, energy independence, if we can call it that. Turkey, as you know, almost 100% reliant on foreign sources when it comes to natural gas. And this amount is very significant, not necessarily for competition with other big natural gas players in the international markets, but for Turkey's domestic consumption, this is very significant. And
Stop. So they're telling you about a gas discovery, a massive pool of natural gas, listen, in the Black Sea. Now, I want you guys to just Google around, use DuckDuckGo, not Google, right? And look around and see how many underwater pipelines they've actually built, and nobody stumbled on this, but they found it now at the Black Sea. Pay attention, okay? Pay attention to what he's going to say.
And in recent years, Turkey made a lot of effort in renewable energy area, but when it comes to oil and natural gas, it's been very, very highly dependent on foreign sources, and it contributes to current account deficit of Turkey, which runs in the billions of dollars.
And how do you see Turkey benefiting from this in the long term?
Well, it's Turkey, as I said, it's a middle power with a lot of need for energy for its manufacturing, for its various industries, and it has some domestic electric production. It has made a lot of progress in recent years, developing its own resources. However, again, around 70% overall energy dependent. Turkey needs to diversify its energy sources, both for geopolitical and strategic reasons. It relies on Russia, Iran, Iraq for its energy.
Okay, so we've talked about that, right? It relies on Russia, Iran, Iraq, Oman, right? All these pipelines that your tax dollars paid for to be created that all come to who? Turkey, who has the keys to the kingdom. They could turn off the pipelines, turn them on. Remember, I've told you about watching water, the borders of waters. I've been saying this for a long, long time. So here we are where the Black Sea, there's actually a pipeline from, going from Russia down, right? So they've already investigated it, but now Turkey says, I found it. Remember, look at the countries that border the Black Sea, okay? It's Russia and Ukraine. And it's like, so Turkey's going to come in and say, fuck off, Russia. This is mine. This is what people are buying. Are you getting this? Do you see how they're coming in from the north? Like I said, how Georgia is in there. We paid for all these pipelines. And when they were putting these pipelines, nobody saw a massive pool of natural gas. Didn't I tell you Ukraine has the largest deposits of natural gas? Didn't I say Crimea has the largest natural gas deposits? Are you paying attention now? Can you see how it's coming down? Yes. How Burisma comes in. Yes. How China comes in. Can you see? And now, Turkey has been explaining, well, I'm parking up next to Cyprus because I'm drilling to find oil and gas. Can you see it? It's all about energy. And I've said this, my job was never hijacking anybody or anything in anything else except for energy. My spiel is energy. I've said this from the beginning. That's why I have that clearance. Energy, 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 energy. And I know this like the back of my hand. So think clearly now. Can you see it? I told you he's going to come from the north. He's sitting in the south with popcorn watching. But can you see it? Can you see? They're going into the Black Sea. Wait till you hear the spokesperson. Listen to what else this guy has to say. How important it is that they found this, because now they're going to be independent. That means we're going to have our own natural gas, and we won't have to use Russia's and we'll steal it though. We won't have to use the oil from Iran and Oman and Turkey and Azerbaijan and the Far East, where we've piped it all up and it all comes into a center, kind of like a spider. It's like tons of lanes in a highway that all merge into one, and they come to Turkey. This is what's up. Look.
So it will help Turkey diversify its energy sources, but it will also help Turkey meet its domestic consumption needs when it comes to electricity for its industrial production. And as you know, industrial production at home, manufacturing, we've seen in the COVID-19 era, Turkey has exported a lot to the US, to Europe, around the world, thanks to its manufacturing, domestic manufacturing, which has not been outsourced like the United States has outsourced to China or Asia. So this is very significant for Turkey's industrial development and domestic manufacturing sectors as well.
All right, Kadir Üstün, really great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for giving us all that propaganda. We appreciate it. Now, let's listen to what the spokesperson said, because I started this conversation in 2018 because it was important that you guys understand it and listen to what this guy says. He says it in English. Just pay attention to his words.
Fossil, in TPAO's own words. But it begs the question, what is next? How prospective do you think the area surrounding the Sakarya-1 field or Sakarya field is from the perspective of TPAO and Turkish government?
Well, first of all, technical details aside, this is a major discovery. This is the first ever largest discovery of any natural gas resource in our continental shelf in the Black Sea or in the Mediterranean or Aegean. It's a result of years of work on developing our own capacities for not only energy, but for our economic abilities to explore, partner with other countries, develop this technical capability. And it's also a result of a different approach to our own geography, actually. For a long time, the famous statement that geography is your destiny has been used in a rather negative sense, but here it has a positive significance. Turkey is surrounded by 3 seas, major seas, and now we have found natural gas in the Black Sea. That's really
Right? They now found it, even though they've been piping stuff underground, even though Crimea was a big thing because it it all sits under there. Now they found it. You buying this? You buying this, right? You see it?
really, really important for Turkey's economy. Turkey.
Wait, they found it, but I've been telling you about this since 2018 on air, but they just found it. Oh dear.
Has been a transit country in the energy sector. Now Turkey will be an energy producing country. That's a new dimension, a very significant one. That makes Turkey more than just a producer of energy, but it puts Turkey at a different level in terms of strategic location, relations, regional and global affairs.
And how likely it is for Turkey to find more gas in the Black Sea, based on your initial findings in the Tuna-1 well?
Based on what our technical experts are telling us, there is a much greater potential. That's just the beginning of what they've discovered yesterday. And it's quite likely that as they continue this drilling over the next few months, they will be able to make a deeper assessment of what is available there. But the chances are that it will lead to other fields.
And in terms of drilling, after the Tuna-1 well, which I understand is not complete yet, they're still continuing to spud deeper into the earth, but there are going to be new exploratory wells in the same region that's going to be immediately drilled.
True, that is true. So the work will continue for exploration as well as drilling at the same time.
Ask yourself, with all these neighboring nations and that sea neighboring upon them, right? Where Russia, Romania, Bulgaria, Georgia, Ukraine, Crimea, with all these nations bordering it. So they're just going to start drilling in the sea, this small sea where all these people were in, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, sure, go ahead, do it. Because none of us have any access to that. It's all yours, Turkey, because you said so. Because that's how it works, right? Because this was the point of Crimea. This was the point of them hijacking Ukraine. This was the point of the saltiness that they had with the annexation, because Crimea choosing the Russian Federation as their, harbor, kind of like Hong Kong-China relationship, right? They chose Russia, gave less control and access to that gas to the EU. And so they grabbed Ukraine real hard. And now you have the Turkish guy saying, no one will tell us what's ours. We tell the world what's ours. They can kiss our tushies. That was his speech. So.
Because we're very hopeful that it will lead to other fields in the same area next to Tuna-1 and perhaps in other areas as well. And of course, we will continue to explore in other parts of the Black Sea, as well as in the Eastern Mediterranean, in other parts of the Mediterranean around Cyprus and other places as well. So we are very much hopeful. We are very encouraged by this discovery. which was announced yesterday by our president. We believe that it will lead to the discovery of new fields.
That brings us to the next question about EastMed. There are license areas issued by the Greek Cypriot administration of Cyprus that overlaps with some of the areas that Turkey continues to be part of its own exclusive economic zone, or let's say it's under its own jurisdiction. Does Turkey have an immediate plan to start exploration or drilling in any of those overlapping areas in the wake of this massive fund in the Black Sea?
We already have our Oruç Reis ship doing exploratory work in the Eastern Mediterranean. It will continue its work. There are disputed areas, but they are disputed in the sense that the Greek side makes some maximalist claims in the Eastern Mediterranean. For example, around the Castellariza Island. They claim about 40,000 square kilometer area for themselves, which is illogical because it's a very small island and only.
Oh, so they dictate. Remember, they took Troy because it wasn't even theirs, right? All history says it's not theirs. But they're now saying that they deserve all the water up until the front of the island. Do you know what else is in the Eastern Mediterranean that the Greeks have? Uranium. You know what else? Plutonium. You know what else? Gold. You know what else? Damn. That's what you need to know. So the water, which covers the majority of the surface of the planet, is key here. But the key here is that they're dictating policy and they're ignoring everyone else. And you're going to say, well, are they dumb? Well, let's see. They're both UN. They're both, neighbors. They're both in a territory that has a lot of natural resources. They're both within NATO. Remember, the first largest military force is the US, the second is Turkey. That was why they were entered into NATO, not just to buffer Greece and Europe's relations, but to keep them in check. Because it's so weird because Greece has the third largest military in NATO. Little Greece, tiny, especially Navy, tiny. So you have to think, wait a minute. So we've got the second and the third largest militaries of NATO going at each other. And we have alliances coming in. We've got UAE ships right now in the Eastern Mediterranean and Greece's waters hanging. Macron has inserted his butt as the Trojan horse. I'm here to save the day. You guys need to keep the peace. Dude, first, if ever war happened, his ships are probably the first ones that are going to be sunk. And then they'll deal with the Turkish people. So this is what's going on, you guys. This is it. Let's just finish up what this clown has to say.
2 kilometers away from the Turkish shore, and it's 580 kilometers away from the Greek mainland. And they claim 40,000 square kilometer area. I mean, can you imagine that? That means that Turkey is locked down in the Antalya harbor. And even our fishermen cannot go out without, according to this logic, without getting permit from the Greek side. So that's simply not acceptable. We would like to see all these disputes to be resolved through negotiation with the Greek side. We don't recognize the Greek Cypriot side, therefore we do not engage with them, but we believe it's in the interest of everyone living on the island to start this dialogue between the Turkish Cypriot and the Greek Cypriot sides on the island and around this areas around the island. But we will continue our exploration work in the Eastern Mediterranean in the areas which we believe belong to the Turkish continental shelf.
Does that mean you don't have an immediate drilling plan that would sort of derail any chances of sort of diplomacy? Because we saw that you gave a chance to diplomacy. It didn't seem to have worked out quite the way that you probably wanted to do. So is there a plan to start drilling now that diplomacy didn't work, or you're going to wait more?
There's always room for diplomacy. Our president has taken a very constructive approach, supported the German initiative to advance this diplomatic process. And we stopped Oruç Reis, as you know, from sailing about a month ago to give a chance to diplomacy. But unfortunately, only a day before we were going to make an announcement, Turkey and Greece, to start or to resume exploratory talks between the two countries, the Greek side signed an agreement with Egypt.
And let me tell you about Egypt quickly before we listen to an analysis of a historian that's going to tell you just a little bit more back on that. So, Egypt, Erdogan has said ever since he took office that he's going to get back at the Egyptians for murdering the Muslim Brotherhood counterpart he had there. I want you to keep that in mind. They hate Egypt and they're pissed that they created an agreement together. And like I said, this is where it sparks. That's where the heat map is. And this is how it happens. Now, just to end today's show, we're going to go into understanding a little bit from Jerusalem TV. Is it from Jerusalem? Is Israel News? Sorry. What they have to say about the Turkey-Greece tensions. Remember, Israel's also signed on to this agreement with Cyprus and Turkey, and Pompeo actually facilitated the talks between Israel, Turkey, and Greece over a year ago.
With Turkey and one of its arch rivals, Greece, clashing over gas reserves hidden underneath, and with regional powers such as Israel and Egypt siding with Athens against Ankara. To explore the latest tensions surrounding the volatile waters, we're joined from Central Israel by Dr. Haitan Konya-Norochak, who is a research fellow at the Moshe Dayan Center as well as at the JISS in Jerusalem. Shalom.
Thank you very much.
Also joining our panel from another location here in Jerusalem is Professor Ephraim Inbar, who is the president of the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. Welcome.
Shalom to everybody.
And I'd like also to welcome to today's panel our TV7 analyst, Mr. Amir Oren. Mr. Oren, give us a better understanding at this rivalry, which is long before just several months ago, and is really interconnected with all of the powers in the region, has made the situation here quite complicated to understand for many of our viewers.
So the fact that there is
Wait, I just wanted to point out, remember patterns, okay? Remember past. What have I said? Israel, Greece, Cyprus signed together. Italy signed on. Egypt, Greece signed on. Greece, UAE signed on. Israel, UAE signed on. Are you watching this? Are you watching this? Yes. Yes. Are you watching that? Because the UAE right now, I tweeted out a picture. They're literally in Greece's waters patrolling.
This tension between Turkey and Greece is no surprise. And indeed, this was one of the reasons for the formation of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, because the whole concept that the United States came up with was to get old rivals such as France and Germany or Greece and Turkey under the American umbrella, because there was a common adversary, and that is the Soviet Union during the Cold War. But of course, the old rivalries and hatreds never really went away. And in the 70s, when the colonel's junta ruled Greece and the Turks invaded Cyprus, it came into the surface and has not been resolved up to now. What has changed recently is the finding that this particular part of the Eastern Mediterranean is resource rich, especially in gas reserves, and there are disputes regarding the sovereignty of particular parts of the Mediterranean, because there are so many islands there. You can have territorial waters in dispute because the mainland and part of an island could clash. What has happened in recent weeks is that the Turks have sent a survey ship into a disputed area quite close to a Greek island. And the survey ship is escorted by naval units. And Egypt has already come up with support for the Greek position. Israel obviously has been training with the Greek armed forces in recent years, ever since Turkey, which used to be Israel's ally, turned around and became its adversary.
You don't hear this on regular news, do you? And remember, UAE right now and France are located in the Eastern Mediterranean. This is what people need to be paying attention to. And our president's just like, yeah, great guys, love them all. And this is where you're seeing it come down. It all comes down to that Ottoman sword.
So right now, we are on the verge of a possible armed clash between Greece and Turkey, with other powers perhaps joining the fray. The US Sixth Fleet, which is a NATO force standing by, and the European Union, in which Turkey is not a member, only Greece is trying to mediate between the rivals.
Indeed. I would like to refer the next question to Professor Inbal. To what degree is the situation volatile, considering that there is so much at stake with two economies which are quite substantial on the one hand, but also at a very low point on the other, needing that vital boost to replenish their coffers? Are we going towards a head-to-head confrontation, as Mr. Oren has just stated, or is it more of a diplomatic discourse that we may see in the next several weeks?
I think the situation is very volatile because basically we see a new Turkey. It's not the Turkey of the Cold War. It is a Turkey now that has Ottoman and Islamist ambitions. It is led by an Islamist version of the Muslim Brotherhood, Erdogan.
Hallelujah.
And it has developed a lot of appetite. It's not only in the Mediterranean that it challenges the status quo. It denies the existence of the Lausanne Treaty that delineated the borders between Greece and Turkey. It has military presence in Syria, in Iraq. It has a military presence in Qatar. It is a Turkey that is much more aggressive, ready to use force in the region. And the issue is not only energy, it's much more than that.
Yep. And we're going to leave it at that, the much more than that, because that is a very important conversation that we should have, but not now. It's not important right now. Right now, what's important is to see why our president has pushed to ensure that we are energy independent, why our president has been careful to be in negotiations with these terrorists. And the terrorists are Al-Qaeda, who I've told you before, wanted their headquarters in Qatar. Remember, the United Nations have empowered Turkey and Qatar, which are the last heads of the caliphate, sitting and taking over that little town, which is Greek, called Tripoli, right, from the Greek Empire in Libya. This is all coming down. And the thing is, no one wants to tell you how it's happening. Imagine what our president has to deal with. Corrupt clowns attacking him because they're ruining everything, while people start creating conspiracy theories against nations, against people, because they don't want you to see what is really in front of you. So let's do that. Let's focus on the micro portion of it, which is this was the war that I told you about. This is the war, and the silent enemy is this shadow government. Now, as you know, just to close this off, this is going to be developing and escalating very quickly, only because now Turkey has made a global proclamation of territory within the Black Sea. And all you need to do is Google Black Sea and see the nations that border it. Then Ukraine makes sense to you. Then the Crimea annexation, if you want to call it, whatever, which was the wisest move that Russia has ever done to protect themselves. Remember, they needed to protect themselves, right? Wisest move ever. You can see that our enemy is the EU. The president has said it in a nice way. I don't think people are soaking that in. And as I've said, we will see new allies be born from this and new enemies. And they were never new. They're just being exposed. Okay. That's the thing. They are being exposed. Now, you know, and you've seen me on talks, and I'm pretty open with it, that with all types of whistleblowers, either that be primary, secondary, whatever it may be, that I don't always agree with everything they say because everyone has their own perspective. It's like a recipe for food, right? If you're watching someone from one angle, you'll see that being done. And if you watch someone from another angle, you'll see something else done. Well, we don't all have to agree, but on the details or how things are done, because we are all compartmentalized on what we can see. Okay. So I can't say you're wrong. I could say you're wrong. Doesn't mean that it's correct. But Bill Binney had his interview, and he was on an AMA on Reddit, and they banned him. I want you to listen to what he had to say, because he's going to be part of Shadowgate number 2.
Tell me when to start.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I think after about 20 minutes of a Reddit session, the Reddit management took us off the air and shut us down. And this just shows the extent of the corruption. And basically, it's the communist, East German Stasi kind of approach where you collectively manage the information that the population gets to see. In other words, they didn't want anybody telling the truth about anything out there, especially as it negates the Russiagate story. Very simply, they alleged that it was disinformation. And when we posted and produced affidavits and other evidence and talked about evidence submitted to federal court in affidavits and sworn affidavits, which is not disinformation, it's direct truth and information that's factually presentable in a court of law.
Just so you know, a lot of us have been doing it, but you haven't been hearing about it. Why? Because they don't want you to. Instead, they want to discredit you, call you quacks. That's what they do. All of us have been saying, I'm here saying, come on, Congress, ask me questions. Come on, I've been sending you letters. Who's been intercepting? Or have you been reading them and pretending they don't exist? That's the way it goes. See, all of us have been doing it. The people that know what's going on have been doing it. He's telling you he did it. He determined that there was no DNC hack. I've been telling you how it really happened as well. From what I know, from what my eyes have seen. He's telling you from what his eyes have seen. See, it all paints one same story. That the people that are actually trying to fix this are the ones that are being silenced.
And because of that, because we were telling the truth, and making it obvious to the people united in this country that this whole Russiagate thing was a fraud from the beginning, why they took us down. So they obviously have joined the side of controlling information that the public gets to see, and they've joined the shadow government and are part of that mainstream media collective of disinformation in themselves. Sorry. This just shows you the level of corruption that they've sunk to.
That's what's up, you guys. That's what's up. So when you see people silencing people, it's because they are truthful. Some were silenced and removed in order to create the illusion that they're just dangerous. You know what I'm talking about. The organization that supposedly panders to the to its people. We're all about free speech. Yet you were hijacked by your own people that framed you for Sandy Hook. And you've been told that many times. I'm just saying the truth tellers are really silenced. That's what it is. And all of us are being silenced and maimed and shamed and taken out. You know, we've had conversations with them in regards to this was number one. And so, yes, they want to tie it into there. I mean, they don't know. They're making assumptions that all of us are that one letter. Nobody would know that. And even if it was so, would we tell it? No. So that's even better for them because they have no idea. So that drives them even crazier. You see? Because when we've been reaching out to give them the truth, they didn't want the truth. And I know a lot of people, I get it. Patrick Berge is rough around the edges. Okay. But, he's calling them out. And that's how it is. And the question is why? I say it's about timing. See, I have faith in humanity. I say it's about timing. And this is why it's all coming. Let's take out all these former private contractors, spooks and whatnot, put them in a box and throw them out. Huh. But that's not the way it is. I lost a contract for work. People have been harassing my family. People have been exploiting crimes against my own family for their own kicks and giggles. They've committed crimes in that process. My website was hacked, stolen, whatever. I lost my radio show because, the radio station got rewarded with new advertising money, of course. Millie Weaver was ridiculed. She was arrested. This is how it is. But it's all about the truth, and what we have to do is unite together. That's basically it. Now, I'm going to close this with my favorite song because I never meant to set the world on fire. I just wanted your heart to be sparked up and feel that you are the movement. You are the revolution, because we are many and they are few, and we need to have this president's back like no business, because they are coming at him hard. So I'm going to end this with my song, and I just wanted to tell you guys I will be uploading it for those of you that jumped on later onto YouTube to watch once I'm able to. On that note, Time Traveling Tory is out, and I will see you again tomorrow. God bless everyone.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. In my heart, I have but one desire, and that one is you. No other will do. I've lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love. And with your admission, you'd feel the same. I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just wanna start a flame in your heart. I've lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just wanna be the one you love. And with your admission, you'd feel the same. I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just wanna start a flame in your heart.